Chapter 1401. The depths of the Fengdu ghost region were shrouded in Yin energy. Yi Chen stood in the dense Yin energy with a grim expression. Why can't I find Lin Tai? Before leaving Earth, he placed Lin Tai's soul into the Fengdu ghost region to turn him into a ghost cultivator with the dense Yin energy. However, he spent a full hour searching the entire Fengdu ghost region, but he did not see Lin Tai. He did not even see a ghost, let alone Lin Tai. It was as if everything had strangely disappeared. Xiao He comforted him. Master, could something have happened here while we were away? Something? Yi Chen's eyes flashed imperceptibly. If there's a change, it would be the foreign sect, the Yin Gate, that occupies this place. If Lin Tai's disappearance is related to the Yin Gate, then I'll destroy it today. Yi Chen took a step out and ran as he thought to this point. The place where the current sect master of the Yin Gate cultivated in seclusion, the Dark Ghost Manor. There were many formations supporting this place, and there were even many disciples of the Yin Gate guarding it at all times. The bone-chilling Yin energy would kill ordinary people if they touched it. An hour later, when Yi Chen and Xiao He landed not far from here, Yi Chen's divine consciousness passed through the layers of formations. He immediately sensed an extremely weak and familiar aura. Great, very good. A fierce gleam appeared in Yi Chen's eyes as he flew into a rage. Subsequently, he charged toward the Dark Ghost Manor directly. Who is it? Yi Chen, who was furious, did not restrain his aura. Therefore, the disciples of the Yin Gate who were in charge of guarding the place were alerted. Boom, 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 as more than a dozen shouts rang out, a figure wrapped in a cold aura rushed over. How dare you barge into my Yin Gate? You're courting death. The leader, a young man with a sinister expression, shouted ferociously when he saw Yi Chen and Xiao He wearing outsiders' clothes. Kill them! As soon as he said that, the dozen or so disciples of the Yin Gate behind him charged at Yi Chen and Xiao He with killing intent. Kill them. Don't leave a single one alive, Yi Chen said and headed straight for the Dark Ghost Manor. The coldness in his eyes grew stronger. He ignored the layers of formations and placed two fingers together into a sword. Break. Rumble. A loud sound shook the sky as terrifying energy spread in all directions. At the same time, in the Dark Ghost Manor, in the spacious stone room, there was a platform that was over 100 feet above the ground. Around the platform, there were 4 huge black stone pillars. Above the 4 stone pillars, there were 4 ferocious chains that looked like dragons winding down. At the end of the 4 chains was a green ball of light, and of the light, a figure was floating in the air. That figure was extremely dispirited and didn't seem real. It seemed to be a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. However, he was currently unconscious. His 4 limbs were tightly bound by the 4 snaking chains, causing him to be unable to move a single step. Chun of Manor, Chun of the Man, and King Spirit Sect, and King Sun, Chun, Daos in Manor, King, He and. Soon. In less than a month, your soul force will be completely absorbed by this old man. Beside the chains, there was an old man in a black robe, whose face was wrapped in black energy as he muttered and laughed. Once I devour all of your soul power, I might even be able to step into the God transformation stage. At that time, I'll be able to leave a stroke on the star chart of Qingming planet. The old man stared at the illusory man with incomparable greed in his eyes. He was extremely excited. There's actually an extremely pure beginner stage nascent soul ghost cultivator here. The heavens have really helped me. However, at this moment, a loud bang suddenly came from the outside world. The loud bang caused the entire stone room to shake violently. Who is it? The black-robed old man's expression turned cold as he charged out immediately. As soon as Yi Chen stepped into the Dark Ghost Manor, the space before him shook. As endless Yin energy surged, an illusory figure appeared. It was an old man in a black robe. His entire body was filled with endless black fog. Who are you? How dare you barge into my dark gate? You'll pay with your life. Yi Chen was expressionless. He glanced at the other party and said coldly, a mere perfected nascent soul ghost cultivator. I'd like to see how you're going to make me pay with my life. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Chen stretched out his hand. He stretched out his hand, and golden lightning immediately appeared in his palm. It was as if a thunderstorm was sweeping everything. Divine devil-warding lightning? The black-robed old man's expression changed immediately. He retreated quickly. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands and condensed a huge black fog barrier in front of him. When Yi Chen's lightning landed on the black fog, it dissipated on the spot. The black-robed old man screamed and was sent flying. His face was extremely dispirited. Senior, let's talk things out. The black-robed old man was terrified. His expression changed drastically as he said, I'm the sect master of the Dark Gate, Gu Qingyun. I don't know how I've offended you, Senior. Please tell me. God transformation stage. This person must be a God transformation stage cultivator. Gu Qingyun was extremely terrified. Damn it, didn't they say that all the God transformation stage cultivators went to the depths of Yin ruins? Where did this guy come from? Yi Chen acted as if he did not see him. His body flashed like lightning, and he landed on the huge platform immediately. When his gaze landed on the illusory man trapped by the 4 chains in the ball of light, he felt a sharp pain in his heart. He said with a trembling voice, Ah Tai, I'm here. At that moment, the illusory man who had been sleeping suddenly opened his tightly shut eyes. He lifted his head slowly to look at Yi Chen. In the depths of his misty and weak eyes, tears actually gushed out. Hi, Lord. The former was Lin Tai. Don't speak. I'll bring you back. Yi Chen used his finger as a blade and forcefully cut the 4 chains that imprisoned him. Then, he waved his sleeve and put Lin Tai's soul into his sleeve. Gu Qingyun, who had been outside the whole time, became even more terrified when he saw this. Who exactly is this person? He can actually cut the soul-binding chains that the Grand Elder set up with his bare hands. Looks like that ghost cultivator knows this person. If he finds out what I did to that ghost cultivator, I'll definitely die. Gu Qingyun's heart trembled. Then, he could not care less. He gritted his teeth and tried to escape through the main door. However, a young man in black came toward him. A God transformation stage demonic beast. Gu Qingyun's scalp went numb. He immediately changed his direction and turned into a streak of black energy that shot towards the sky. You can't escape. At that moment, Yi Chen's bone-chilling voice came from behind him. It shocked him to death, shrinking the earth into an inch. Spare me. Senior, spare me. Gu Qingyun was so shocked that his soul almost left his body. You can't kill me. There's still the Grand Elder of the Gu Yin Gate outside. You deserve to die for injuring my subordinate. Yi Chen took a step forward as a cold gleam flickered in his eyes. After scoffing coldly, he extended his hand and grabbed the man in his hand. Before the man could react, he forcefully performed the soul-searching tactic on the man and immediately found out what had happened. Turned out that the Gu Yin Gate came from a planet called Qingming. 10 years ago, the Gu Yin Gate descended to Earth from the outer realm. Most of the good places were occupied by other foreign sections. The Gu Yin Gate had no choice but to occupy Fengdu Ghost City. Then, they secretly discovered the secret of the sealed Fengdu Ghost City and Lin Tai, the ghost cultivator. At that time, Lin Tai relied on the ghost cultivation method that Yi Chen passed down before he left and the unique place of Ghost City. He cultivated to beginner stage nascent soul in just 10 years. Unexpectedly, he was captured by the only God transformation stage Grand Elder of the Gu Yin Gate. Then, he was devoured by Gu Qingyun as a human-shaped ghost energy storage device. If Yi Chen had come a month later, Lin Tai's soul would have been completely destroyed and he would have disappeared from this world. Apart from that, Yi Chen also found out from Gu Qingyan's memory that the Grand Elder of the Gu Yin Gate had entered a place called Yin Su with other god transformation stage powerhouses from other sects not long after arriving on Earth 10 years ago. As for Yin Su's background and other information, Gu Qingyan did not know. His duty was to guard the Gu Yin Gate. Yin Su. Yi Chen's eyes flickered. I'm sure that Yin Su is on Earth. However, why are there so many god transformation stage powerhouses entering Yin Su? A thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Could it be that there's a big secret in Yin Su? Is that the reason why so many foreign sects came to Earth? In the end, he could only shake his head and look at Xiao He. Did you kill them all? Yes. Xiao He grinned and said fiercely, apart from the women who were captured, no one from the entire Gu Yin Gate will be spared. As for those women, I've erased their memories. Very good. Yi Chen flicked his sleeve. Lin Tai's illusory spirit body appeared in the air again. At that moment, he looked like a wisp of thin black smoke, as if he could dissipate at any time. Only the soul fire between his brows was still burning weakly. Xiao He frowned and said, Master, can he still be saved? If it were anyone else, he might not be able to be saved. Yi Chen smirked coldly, but it's not difficult for me. Since the Gu Yin Gate made Lin Tai do this, I'll take revenge from the Gu Yin Gate. At the next moment, he suddenly leaped into the air and soared into the sky. Then, he looked down at the Gu Yin Gate below and stretched out his hand like a giant hand that was stirring the river. Souls of the Gu Yin Gate condense. He formed a seal with both hands and shouted softly. Then, illusory figures suddenly appeared out of thin air within the Gu Yin Gate. Painful and confused souls slowly opened their eyes. Retrieve. A black flag appeared in Yi Chen's hand out of nowhere. The souls immediately surged into the black flag. Go! Yi Chen stretched his hand and waved. He said to Lin Tai's weak soul immediately, Lin Tai, this is your calamity and your opportunity. Today, I'll help you devour 10,000 souls with the 10,000 soul flag and reconstruct your ghost body. End of this chapter. Chapter 1402. After putting Lin Tai's soul into the myriad soul flag, Yi Chen took one last look at the Gu Yin Gate. He then stomped his foot. The Gu Yin Gate turned into ruins instantly. In less than an hour, the news of the Gu Yin Gate being destroyed shook the entire country. Countless organizations arrived in an attempt to find out something, but they found nothing. In the next 3 days, Yi Chen's injuries were getting more and more serious. However, he did not stay at home. Instead, he got Xiao He to bring him around the country. In an ordinary high school in Jinling City. On the spacious field, many students were playing basketball, and on the side, there were many gorgeously dressed women shouting and cheering. In such an exciting scene, there was a young man in a school uniform carrying a canvas bag. He bent down in the huge field and the crowd, picking up cans and bottles from time to time. It was a young man around 16 or 17 years old. His face was sallow, and he seemed to be malnourished. There were a few patches on his uniform. A boy could not help but point and laugh out loud when he saw that. Look, Yi Chi from Class 3 is here to pick up trash again. No wonder he's the trash king of Class 3. I don't understand why such a poor person would come to school. Isn't it better to pick up trash outside when he's free? Our Class 3's face has been thrown away by him. Many people around looked at the young man and laughed. They were discussing among themselves, and their eyes were filled with disdain and sympathy. Facing the people's mockery, the young man named Yi Chi's face turned pale. He buried his head by instinct and turned around to leave. Trash Yi, don't leave in such a hurry. A tall boy blocked his way and said while smiling, I have 10 spiritual stones here. I'll give them to you as long as you kneel to me. What do you think? Yi Chi shook his head and was about to leave. The tall boy's expression turned cold. Trash Yi, I've given you face, haven't I? Kneel now. He stretched his arm and pushed Yi Chi onto the ground as he spoke. Yi Chi clenched his fists tightly and looked at him with a pale face. He seemed to be suppressing his anger forcefully. The tall boy smirked and looked at him in a condescending manner. What? Are you going to beat me up? Wang Dong, what are you doing? At this moment, a cold and delicate voice rang out from the side. Then, a girl dressed rather extravagantly walked over. The girl's facial features were moving and her eyes were clear. She walked over and helped Yi Chi up. She asked with concern, Yi Chi, are you all right? The expression of the man called Wang Dong changed slightly when he saw her appear, and then he said, Yang Shui, why are you helping that kid over and over again? Could it be that you've taken a liking to him? None of your business. Yang Shui's face instantly heated up. She then glared at him fiercely. Wang Dong, don't look down on others just because your family has some money. If I see you bullying Yi Chi again, I won't let you off. Wang Dong snorted coldly, as if he didn't dare to refute. After all, Yang Shui's clan was the Yang clan of Jinling, and it wasn't something he could afford to offend. And you guys were all classmates, not enemies. Is there a need to tease Yi Chi like this? Yang Shui looked coldly at the crowd, then helped Yi Chi up and returned to the classroom. As soon as Yi Chi sat down, he felt Yang Shui's soft little hand. He blushed and said while holding his head down, Thank you, Yang Shui. We're classmates, don't mention it. Yang Shui grinned. Just when she was going to say something, she suddenly looked out of the classroom window. There was a skinny young man with white hair looking at the both of them quietly. There was relief and vicissitudes in the young man's eyes. Yang Shui frowned and turned around to say to Yi Chi, Yi Chi, is that person outside your family? Yi Chi looked over and shook his head. Yang Shui was confused. But why is he staring at you? Do you owe him money? Yi Chi thought about it and walked out eventually. He looked at the white-haired young man timidly. Mr. A, are you here for me? He was a little perturbed, thinking that his stepfather had run into gambling debts again. Yang Shui followed him out and looked at the white-haired young man with her guard up. She seemed to be warning him. Yi Chen looked at the young man before him quietly. He could not help but say while smiling, What's your name? My name is Yi Chi, Yi Chi said. He had no idea if it was an illusion when he said that, but he had a feeling that the person before him gave him a very familiar feeling. However, he did not know him. Yi Chi, your surname is Yi. That's a great name. Yi Chen nodded and looked at Yang Shui again. What about you? What's your name? Yang Shui, the latter said impatiently. Your surname is Yang. Not bad. Yi Chen's expression was getting gentler as he mumbled softly, Great. I'll come to you guys in a year's time. I believe Earth will be safe by then. Yi Chi looked at him in confusion. Yang Shui, on the other hand, glared at Yi Chen fiercely. Why are you being so secretive? Yi Chen smiled and turned around to leave. The stone in his heart was gradually lifted. His second uncle and second aunt's reincarnations were safe and sound, and they knew each other somehow. He did not restore their memories from their previous lives immediately. Firstly, they were still young and still in school. Secondly, Earth was not safe now. It was better for his second uncle and second aunt to be ordinary people for now. Yi Chen stood on Xiao Hei's back 10,000 meters in the sky. He took a good look at the school under his feet and said, Let's go back. Xiao Hei was confused. Master, aren't you going to visit old Chern and old Niu? No, I can already sense their aura. Yi Chen shook his head and smiled. He looked in the direction of the capital. As long as I know that they're safe, it doesn't matter whether I see them or not. Tiannan, Lin City. In the past 3 days, Yiwen had followed Yi Chen's instructions and mobilized a lot of manpower and resources to restore the polluted Nine Dragons Bay. As soon as Yi Chen returned to Nine Dragons Bay, he scanned the place with his divine consciousness and realized that there were 2 strangers in his house. His eyes turned grim, and he could not help but walk into the house. He saw that the living room was filled with people. Yi Hai smoked with a grim face and said nothing. Wu Lan held Su Yuhan's hand tightly, while Su Yuhan's eyes were slightly red and swollen, as if she had just cried. Two men were sitting across them at the moment. The older one was an elegant old man with glasses. He faintly exuded the aura of a superior. Next to him was a young man who was about 25 or 26 years old. He had handsome features, but there was a hint of arrogance between his brows that could not be hidden. Wu Lan could not help but stand up when she saw Yi Chen enter. She said with joy on her face, "Xiaochen, you're back." Even Su Yuhan could not help but look at him. Yi Chen glanced at the old man and the young man and said expressionlessly, "Who are they?" "They are." Wu Lan's lips moved slightly. Before she could finish, the old man spoke first. "You're Xiaoye, right? I'm Yuhan's uncle, Fang Mingwei." "Your uncle?" Yi Chen looked at Su Yuhan by instinct. He had never heard Su Yuhan talk about her mother's family. Su Yuhan nodded lightly and said, "They're my mother's relatives. That's my uncle's grandson, Fang Rui. My mother had a conflict with my grandfather back then, and she married into the Su family out of anger. That's why we haven't contacted each other all these years." No wonder, Yi Chen came to a realization. He then looked at Fang Mingwei and his grandson and said while smiling, "I wonder why the two of you are here? Xiaoye, you should call me uncle like Yuhan does." Fang Mingwei looked upset, but he said anyway, "I'll tell you the truth. We're here to bring Yuhan back." As soon as he was done speaking, he realized that the temperature in the living room had dropped. Yi Chen's smile turned cold. "What did you say?" Fang Mingwei hesitated to speak, but Fang Riz spoke first. "Uncle, the old lady heard that my aunt isn't feeling well, so she asked us to bring her back." "What happens after we bring her back?" Yi Chen's voice was getting colder. Sensing that his tone was a little cold, Fang Rui's expression turned slightly cold. He then said directly, "Since you can't cure my aunt, you can't possibly affect us bringing her back for treatment, right? I know Yuhan's condition the best." Yi Chen chuckled and said while looking at him, "If even I can't cure her, do you think you guys can? Yi, don't you think too highly of yourself?" Fang Rui sneered and said, "You're dying. If you have that ability, why can't you cure yourself? Yi, we know that you were very powerful in the past, but things are different now. The Fang family has risen and become a wealthy family in Beijing, and you, mad Southern Yi, don't have much time left." He seemed to no longer care about Yi Chen's identity as he spoke to this point. "Moreover, you've killed the 3 people from Ethereal Palace and the Dragon King Palace's palace master. You're in deep trouble and can't even protect yourself. Do you want my aunt to die with you?" Hearing that, Su Yuhan's expression changed slightly. She stared at him coldly. "Lil Rui, how can you say that?" Sensing that the atmosphere in the room was a little cold, Fang Mingwei eventually eased the tension. "Lil Yi, to be honest, Lil Rui has already joined the Taichu Dojo. In other words, the Taichu Dojo, a large sect from outside the country, is behind the Fang family." He looked at Yi Chen and said proudly, "So, you have to know that the Fang family is more capable of saving Yuhan than you are. That's not all. If the Fang family pleads for you, the Ethereal Palace and Old Liang might forgive you," Fang Rui said while smiling. Yi Chen interrupted him, as if he was mocking. "Are you showing off to me that your Fang family is kneeling to the large sects from outside the country? You!" Fang Mingwei was furious. Yi Chen said, "Seeing that the two of you are related to Yuhan by blood, I won't pursue this matter today." Gram. "Great, great." Fang Mingwei was so angry that his face turned livid. "You said it yourself. You've offended the Ethereal Palace and Old Liang at the same time. I'd like to see how long you can continue acting tough. Don't beg the Fang family to save you when the time comes." After saying that, he flicked his sleeves and left quickly. End of this chapter. Chapter 1403. After watching the two of them leave, Yi Chen lifted his head to look at Su Yuhan and smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry for chasing your relatives away. It's not your fault. Uncle and his family have never cared about my life. I didn't expect them to abandon righteousness and join a foreign sect to rise. Su Yuhan shook her head and sighed. They're pretending to care about me now. I'm afraid they have ulterior motives. Ulterior motives. A ferocious gleam appeared in Yi Chen's eyes when he heard that. I only hope that they don't challenge my bottom line. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Let's not talk about them. Yi Hai, who had been silent all this while, put the matter aside. He looked at Yi Chen and said, Shaochen, I've discussed it with your mother. We've set the wedding date for you and Yuhan to be the 15th of this month. What do you think? Of course, Yuhan and I have no objections, Yi Chen said while smiling. All right, there's less than 10 days left. Yi Hai nodded and said while smiling, in the next few days, take some time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get your marriage certificate. Your mother and I will start arranging your marriage. Su Yuhan could not help but blush when she heard that. Her eyes when she looked at Yi Chen again were filled with sweetness. Yi Hai added, it's better to have a casual wedding this time. It's just a simple invitation to relatives and friends. If it's too grand, it'll be troublesome. He knew Yi Chen's influence in China and even the world. If he really wanted to have a grand wedding, it would probably be crowded. In reality, there was something he did not say. With Yi Chen and Su Yuhan's physical condition, it might be useful to have a lively wedding to boost their happiness. So, where are we holding the wedding? Wu Lan asked. 9 Dragons Bay or the church? Western style or traditional style? Western style. Yi Chen took over and said while smiling, as for the venue, let's do it at 9 Dragons Bay. In the end, everyone finalized the wedding details one by one. Yi Wen and the rest began to distribute the invitations to Gu Yingying, the Xiang family, and friends and old friends who were still alive in the next 10 days. It was a long wait and the arrangements were made. Perhaps because of the wedding, Su Yuhan looked much better, and the smile on her face grew wider. Apart from accompanying her and teaching her cultivation, Yi Chen used the resources he had to rearrange the entire 9 Dragons Bay, including formations and various facilities. There were still 3 days before Yi Chen and Su Yuhan's wedding, but news about their wedding spread everywhere, including the internet. At that moment, the entire China and even the entire world was moved. Almost everyone knew about Mad Southern Ye's upcoming wedding. As a result, countless people from all over the world traveled across the ocean to gather in Lin City. Many media outlets, newspapers, and even paparazzi carried all kinds of cameras and squatted outside 9 Dragons Bay. All of them wanted to know about the first scene. When Yi Chen heard the news, Yi Hai walked over quickly and said while frowning, Shaochen, who spread the news? The reason why he was unwilling to make a big deal was mostly because of Yi Chen's physical condition. He did not want to bring too many hidden dangers to Yi Chen. After all, it would be difficult to control the situation if there were too many people. It's not me. Yi Chen nodded lightly and said, let it be. After all, this is the only grand event in life. Moreover, I want to give Yuhan an unprecedented wedding. Yi Hai sighed and could only leave. Time passed by quickly. On the 15th, before the sky had even brightened, the area outside 9 Dragons Bay was already crowded with people. Countless helicopters descended from the sky, and luxury cars were lined up to form a 10-mile-long queue. Walmart's president and CEO, Mr. Dong Mingluan, is here with gifts to congratulate Mad Southern Yi on his wedding. They looked at the helicopter made of anti-missile alloy and the man in sunglasses who was escorted by countless professional bodyguards. The onlookers in the distance were completely stunned. One had to know that Walmart was the #1 overlord in the world's top 500, and Dong Mingluan, the leader, had come personally. Seeing who it was, the person Yi Wen arranged outside could not help but say, Mr. Dong, I'm sorry. You can't enter without an invitation. After saying these words, he was even prepared to be scolded. However, the man in sunglasses smiled faintly and said in fluent Chinese, It's all right. Say hello to Mr. Yi for me. After saying that, He turned around and got into the helicopter again, shocking the onlookers in the distance. However, the next person who arrived made their blood boil. Amazon's chairman and CEO. Saudi Arabia's prince. England's foreign minister. America's Minister of Foreign Affairs. The richest man in the world, Bill Gates. Among the people present, there were business leaders from all over China, politicians from various countries, tycoons on the Forbes rich list, and the world's top 500. At that moment, they expressed their goodwill to Yi Chen in an orderly manner. Then, they gave him their congratulatory gifts and turned around to leave. Many people exclaimed, "Oh my God, how is this a wedding? It's clearly a gathering of the big shots. If I get married, I'd be willing to die if one of the big shots could hold the fort for us. It's unprecedented, it's unprecedented." In the boiling crowd, Fang Mingwei and Fang Rui watched this scene sourly. Even though their Fang family was a wealthy family in Beijing, they did not have such terrifying influence. "He's just a dying man," Fang Rui scoffed and took a few steps forward. He was about to walk into Nine Dragons Bay when he was stopped. "What are you guys doing?" Fang Rui immediately roared, "We're from the bride's family. I'm her nephew, and the person behind me is her uncle. How dare you stop me?" The person in charge could not help but feel troubled. Just as he was about to explain, a calm voice sounded in his mind, "Let them in." Yes. The man was shocked. Only then did Fang Rui and Fang Mingwei swagger into Nine Dragons Bay. Yi Chen, who was dressed in a suit, walked up to them and said coldly, "What are you guys doing here?" "Of course, we're here to attend the wedding." Fang Mingwei did not give him a friendly look. "As your uncle, I'm not going overboard, am I?" "What's going overboard is that you guys didn't send our family an invitation." "Yi Chen called you one over. Settle them down." Soon, many guests arrived. Among them were Gu Yingying, the Medicine King, Sun Zhaonian and his daughter, as well as the remaining people from the Pang family, the Yang family, the Han family, and so on. There were close to 100 people in total. "Congratulations, Mr. Yi." Gu Yingying brought her niece, Chu Qingyu. However, after the Chu family was destroyed, Chu Qingyu had changed a lot. She was no longer as arrogant as before. "I have to say that you're very handsome today." Gu Yingying took a good look at Yi Chen. There was a faint daze and disappointment in her eyes. In the past, she used to have feelings for Yi Chen as well. However, she had long given up on that thought after all these years. "Thank you." Yi Chen greeted everyone one by one. His heart was heavy when he saw the descendants of the Pang family and the Yang family in Beijing. He still remembered Han Qinhu, Yan Nanfei, Yang Yuanqing, and the other loyal and brave soldiers of the country. However, they had ultimately sacrificed themselves in the battle against the foreign enemies. The Pang family and the other families had also declined and were replaced by the new wealthy families, such as the Fang family. It could be said that things remained the same, but people had changed. Yi Hai, who was also dressed formally, walked over. After greeting everyone, he looked at Yi Chen and said, "Xiaochen, everyone should be here, right?" Yi Chen glanced at the crowd. Just when he was about to nod, he saw Tang Ning walking over quickly and whispering into his ear, "Bring me there." A gleam flashed through Yi Chen's eyes. He appeared outside Nine Dragons Bay in a flash. The crowd did not disperse, but everyone's eyes were on a figure at the entrance of Nine Dragons Bay. The figure was tall, young, and handsome. He was wearing a military uniform. Although his facial features were young, there was a murderous aura that made one's heart palpitate. The young man in military uniform trembled when he saw Yi Chen walking over. He then knelt heavily before Yi Chen and said in a trembling voice, "My unfilial nephew, Yang Hao, greets Uncle Yi." "Yang Hao, are you Yang Tian's son, Yang Hao?" Yi Chen walked over while trembling and helped him up. Feeling his broad shoulders, he said excitedly, good boy, you've grown up. You're almost taller than Uncle Yi." He was really excited. He and Yang Tian were classmates and best friends in university. Later on, Yang Tian also got together with him. At that time, Yang Hao was only 3 or 4 years old. Who would have thought that he was already as tall as a person now? Yang Hao's eyes were slightly red and tears kept falling. I'm very happy to be able to see Uncle Yi. Your father. Yi Chen looked guilty. Uncle Yi, don't blame yourself. Yang Hao smiled lightly. I know about my father's situation. I'll tell you after the wedding. I'm here on Brother Song's order. That brat Chia? Yi Chen said while smiling. Then, under everyone's gaze, Yang Hao knelt heavily before him again and kowtowed a few times. Uncle Yi, Brother Song said that he can't attend the wedding personally. He can only ask me to bring him to kowtow to you. Alright. Thank you. Get up. Yi Chen helped him up again. Just when he was about to enter, his expression suddenly changed. Your spiritual root has been crippled? He had checked Yang Hao's aptitude before. It was a rare mutated lightning spiritual root, but it was gone now. Yang Hao immediately smiled bitterly. That's right. A few days ago, someone forcefully removed the lightning spiritual root in Hao Er's body. Hao Er is now a cripple. Very good. Yi Chen squinted and said coldly, Don't worry. Uncle Yi will definitely take revenge for you. At the same time, I'll recover your spiritual root. Just as he was about to bring Yang Hao in, there was a commotion at the back of the crowd, and then 2 armed helicopters flew towards Nine Dragons Bay. After the helicopter landed, 2 men in military uniforms walked out slowly. I, Yu Feng, am here on the orders of the peerless god of war, General Luo Tianya. I wish Mr. Yi a happy wedding. The man in the lead knelt on one knee before Yi Chen. Before Yi Chen could react, the man in military uniform behind him also took a few steps forward and knelt on one knee. I, Hong Weigua, am here on the orders of the Master of the Western Region, General Ning Yuntian. I wish Mr. Yi a happy wedding. End of this chapter. Chapter 1404. As soon as Yu Feng's and Ling Tian's voices faded, the crowded and noisy crowd instantly became deathly silent. The peerless god of war, Luo Tianya. The Lord of the Western Region, Ning Mengtian. It would not be an exaggeration to say that these 2 people's names were like thunder piercing the ears in China today. They were 2 legendary figures who were known as the god of war. However, it was such an existence who personally sent people to congratulate Yi Chen's wedding. How could everyone not be shocked? Thus, after this short period of silence, an uproar broke out like a stormy sea. When Fang Mingwei and Ning Mengtian in Nine Dragons Bay saw this, they felt even more upset. Although the Fang family was a wealthy family in Beijing, they had to be polite to Luo Tianya and Ning Mengtian. However, the 2 of them did not give face to the Fang family. Both of you, please rise. Although Yi Chen was surprised, he still went over to help Yu Feng and Hong Weigua up with a smile. Yu Feng cupped his fists and bowed. Mr. Yi, due to special circumstances, General Luo was unable to attend your wedding personally. Please forgive him. Don't worry about it. Yi Chen sighed lightly and said, I roughly understand Brother Luo's situation. When Brother Yu returns, tell him that I'll go to the east to meet him. Alright, I won't stay any longer. I need to report to General Luo as soon as possible. Yu Feng nodded. He seemed to have thought of something and said to Yi Chen softly, General Luo wants me to pass a message to Mr. Yi. He paused for a moment, then took a deep breath in and said, General Luo said that there's been an unforeseen event in the army. If necessary, he's willing to bring 1,000,000 troops to help Mr. Yi clear the Emperor's side in the north. Yi Chen was moved when he heard that. Yu Feng boarded the helicopter and left after saying that. After watching him leave, Yi Chen looked at the man in military uniform next to him, Hong Weigua. He could not help but say while smiling, Brother Hong, I don't think I know the Lord of the Western Region, Ning Mengtian, do I? He was not surprised that Luo Tianyao would send someone to congratulate him. The only thing that surprised him was Ning Mengtian. Hong Weigwa cupped his fists and smiled. It's normal for Mr. Yi not to know General Ning. I wonder if Mr. Yi still remembers Ms. Zizhuer? It's her. Yi Chen could not help but recall that the Zizhuer he was talking about was the granddaughter of the Kunlun Ruins Purple Cap Mountain Saint, Zi Qingtsong. To be honest, General Ning is Miss Zizhuer's husband. Hong Weigwa added. I see. Yi Chen came to a realization and said while smiling, I wonder how Miss Zizhuer is doing now. Miss Z has always been with General Ning. Hong Weigwa said, General Ning has always admired Mr. Yi, but regretted not having the chance to meet him. When he heard that General Yi is getting married, he sent me here to congratulate you. Thank you. Yi Chen smiled lightly. Hong Weigwa hesitated for a while, then took a few steps forward and said in a low voice, General Ning said that Earth has suffered a great calamity. Many people have long forgotten the loyalty of their ancestors. He is willing to be the blade in Mr. Ye's hand, to kill until heads roll and clean up everything. Among the 4 heavenly kings, including Luo Tianya, Song Jie, and the current Ning Mengtian, 3 of them were on Yi Chen's side. Yi Chen nodded solemnly and said, Go back and tell General Ning that I know what to do. Hong Weigwa did not hesitate anymore. He turned around and got into the helicopter. Yi Chen watched him leave. At that moment, Yi Wen walked up and said, Brother, the wedding is ready. First, Uncle wants you to go if there's nothing urgent. All right. Yi Chen then returned to Nine Dragons Bay. The entire Nine Dragons Bay was already decorated with lanterns and colored banners. The place was filled with joy. Su Yuhan was dressed extremely beautifully today. She wore a white wedding dress that made her look like a snow lotus on Tianshan Mountain. She was holy, noble, and did not lose her worldly aura. On the other hand, Yi Chen was dressed in a suit. He was tall and handsome, causing Chu Qingyu and the other women to be in a daze. Gu Yingying said with a smile when she saw Yi Chen, The groom is here. Many people laughed and teased, Why aren't you holding the bride's hand, groom? Hearing that, Su Yuhan, who was being supported by Tang Ning in the distance, could not help but blush and bury her head. Big brother, go quickly. Yi Wushuang walked over and said with a smile. He was the best man today. It was his first time wearing a suit and he was not used to it. Even so, his handsome face faintly looked like he was the host. Okay, Yi Chen nodded, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He was extremely excited. Then, he took a deep breath in and walked towards Su Yuhan, who was far away. Today was his wedding day. Even though he had lived for countless years, his heart could not help but twitch. It was as if all the blood in his body was about to erupt. His nervous and embarrassed expression caused the surrounding guests to laugh out loud. Clearly, they did not expect the decisive mad Southern Yi to be so shy. Tang Ning snickered and handed Su Yuhan's hand to him. Here, Yi Chen held her soft little hand gently and clasped his fingers tightly. He said while looking at the beautiful face, Yuhan, you're so beautiful today. Su Yuhan rolled her eyes at him in rebuke. Although she was shy, she still clasped her fingers tightly with his. Yi Chen looked at her with a gentle gaze. I've said it before. I'll make the world kneel under your feet. After saying that, he suddenly extended his hand and pointed at the entire Nine Dragons Bay, as if he was pointing at it casually. Boom! With a loud bang, countless flowers grew out of thin air on the ground of the entire Nine Dragons Bay under everyone's gazes. In an instant, the flowers were like an ocean. They were colorful and contending with each other. They enveloped Yi Chen and everyone else. Everyone's eyes were instantly stunned. Su Yuhan stared blankly at the fairyland before her. Her beautiful eyes were a little infatuated. It's so beautiful. This belongs to you. Yi Chen held her hand and said while smiling, I've told you that even the fragrance within 10 miles can't compare to your beauty. After saying that, he immediately held Su Yuhan's hand and walked to Yi Hai and Wu Lan, who were already sitting high up. The two of them were also dressed formally today, but their faces were filled with gratified smiles. Mommy, you're so beautiful today, Meng Meng, who was dressed like a little golden boy, walked over with a flower basket and placed a bouquet of flowers in Su Yuhan's hand. Su Yuhan squatted down and kissed her. "You're very beautiful too." Yi Chun pulled a long face. "Daddy isn't handsome?" The little girl made a face at him and smiled slyly. "You're not as handsome as Uncle Wu Shuang." Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed out loud. Yi Chun shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He glanced at Yi Wushuang, who was slightly embarrassed before walking to his parents while holding Su Yuhan's hand. Under everyone's witness, the two of them kowtowed to their parents respectfully according to the ancient etiquette. End of this chapter. Chapter 1405. Good girl, get up, get up! Wu Lan was already sobbing. She hurriedly got up and helped Su Yuhan up. Her heart ached. Then, she said to Yi Chun with red eyes, "If you don't treat Yuhan well in the future, I'll teach you a lesson." "Mom, don't worry." Yi Chun found it funny and infuriating. According to the rules, the two elders gave Su Yuhan a red packet each. Although it was not much money, it was a token of their appreciation. Yi Hai looked at Wu Lan helplessly. "Why are you crying on Xiaochun's wedding day?" "I'm happy, can't I?" Wu Lan glared at him and said while wiping her nose, "Think about how difficult it was for Xiaochun and Yuhan to get to where they are today." Hearing those words, Yi Hai sighed endlessly. "Dad, Mom, you have to give me your blessings." Su Yuhan smiled at the two elders and then looked at Yi Chun in a sly manner. "Before I marry you, I have to make a promise with you." "Tell me." Yi Chun suddenly had a bad feeling. "First." Su Yuhan stretched out her gloved fingers and said with a forced smile, "Who's in charge of the money after we get married?" "Who's in charge?" "You're in charge, you're in charge." Yi Chun did not know whether to laugh or cry. The rest looked like they could not help but laugh. Clearly, Su Yuhan had asked that question more than once in various weddings. "Second," Su Yuhan said again, "who's going to cook after we get married? Who's going to wash the clothes?" "Fellow Yi, you have to think carefully before you speak." The Patriarch of Hell, the officiator of the wedding, laughed out loud. "You're mad Southern Yi after all. If outsiders find out that you wash your wife's clothes, I'm afraid it'll cause an earthquake." Yi Chun smiled helplessly. "Let's hire a nanny in the future, all right?" Su Yuhan could not help but roll her eyes at him. Clearly, she was not satisfied with the answer. However, she still said, "Third, who's going to take care of the children in the future?" "I'll take care of them, I'll take care of them." Yi Chun said immediately, "I'm a nanny anyway." "That's more like it." Su Yuhan revealed a satisfied smile. She then held Yi Chun's hand tightly by instinct and smiled happily. Sometimes women did not care about these things. They wanted the man's attitude and sense of security. As a woman, Su Yuhan was no exception. The Patriarch of Hell transformed into a priest and walked to the two of them. He winked at Yi Chun and said, "Groom, are you willing to make this woman your wife and marry her, in sickness and in health, or for any other reason, to love her, to care for her, to honor her, to be faithful to her forever?" "I'm willing," Yi Chun said with a smile. The Patriarch of Hell then looked at Su Yuhan. "Bride, are you willing to accept this man as your husband? No matter what?" Before he could finish speaking, a cold voice suddenly resounded. "I refuse." Everyone was shocked to see that. Even Yi Chun and Su Yuhan could not help but look in the direction of the sound. Fang Mingwei and his grandson walked out from the crowd. Under everyone's gaze, Fang Ri looked at Yi Chun coldly and said, "The Fang family doesn't want my aunt to marry you. Are you courting death?" Xiao He was furious and was about to go over. Yi Chun waved his hand to stop him. He looked straight at Fang Rui calmly. "I don't want to see blood today. I'll give you a chance to explain." Fang Rui suddenly panicked when he met his gaze, but he still said, "Yi, you're about to die, yet you insist on marrying my aunt. That's equivalent to harming her." "Is that so?" Yi Chun smiled in anger. Su Yuhan glared at Fang Mingwei and his grandson and said coldly, "Uncle, we asked you to attend the wedding because we want you to bless us. We didn't ask you to cause trouble." At this point, Her beautiful eyes were extremely cold. I hope that you won't overuse the last bit of affection I have for your Fong family. Yuhan. Fong Mingwei said with a faint smile, you have to know that everything we're doing is for your own good. Not to mention that Xiaoye is about to die. Even if he's fine, he won't live for long. Bang! Yi Hai stood up heavily, his face grim. Fong, are you guys really here to cause trouble? The rest of the people stared at Fong Mingwei and Xiao He coldly. If Yi Chun had not stopped them, someone would have attacked them. Today was a joyous day, and yet, on such a joyous occasion, a member of the Fong clan was talking about death and death. If it were anyone else, they would not be able to tolerate it. I'm willing. Before he could finish, Su Yuhan agreed first. She then looked at Yi Chen with gentleness in her eyes. I'm willing to do anything for him. Fong Mingwei's expression changed slightly and he said, did I say something wrong? Xiaoye has offended the ethereal palace and old Liang. He won't end well. At this point, he looked at Su Yuhan hypocritically. Yuhan, listen to me. Go back with me. It's not too late for you to leave now. Don't regret it. That's right, Aunt. Fong Rui agreed. The Fong family has the Taichu dojo behind them. They can protect you and treat your illness. Enough. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Su Yuhan's cold shout. Fong Mingwei, from now on, I, Su Yuhan, have nothing to do with your Fong family. You're not my uncle. After saying that, she took a deep breath in and said, now, immediately. Please get lost. Thank you. Alright. Su Yuhan, you're good. Su Mingwei was so angry that smoke was coming out of his mouth. After saying that 3 times, he was about to leave with Fong Rui, but he was stopped by Xiao He and Yi Wushuang. Xiao He and Yi Wushuang's eyes that were filled with killing intent caused their expressions to change drastically. Su Yuhan looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen, let them go. Yi Chen could not persuade her, so he could only say, let them go. Xiao He and Yi Wushuang then moved aside. Fong Mingwei glared at Yi Chen and Su Yuhan as if he was about to leave. However, at the next moment, the clouds above 9 Dragons Bay suddenly exploded violently. Then, 2 figures with terrifying auras shot through the sky. Rumble, the clouds collapsed, and the void trembled like thunder. When the 2 figures appeared in the sky above 9 Dragons Bay, 2 old figures immediately appeared. One of them wore a flat crown and a robe with lightning patterns, looking like a god that had descended to the world. The other person was completely wrapped in a black robe, and he was stepping on a huge black cloud. As he appeared, the temperature of the world seemed to have suddenly dropped. This sudden scene immediately caused everyone to be stunned. Before everyone could react, the old man in the lightning pattern robe in the void suddenly spoke. His voice was like a great bell that shook the surroundings. Mad Southern Yi, I'm the Ethereal Palace's Supreme Elder, the Ethereal Patriarch. You killed someone from Ethereal Palace. Why aren't you coming up to accept your death? P.S. Chapter 2. Also, I'm outside. I'll update it when I get back. Chapter 1406. Mad Southern Yi, I'm the Supreme Elder of the Valley Sect, the Patriarch of Valley Een. Today is the day you die. After the old man in the lightning robe spoke, the black-robed old man behind him also shouted from afar with endless killing intent. Boom! Their voices were like rolling thunder, shaking 10 kilometers. The clouds in the entire sky could not bear the weight and dispersed. The strange sound could be heard from 100 kilometers away. At that moment, everyone in the forest city heard that voice and they all raised their heads at the same time, looking at the 2 silhouettes that were akin to gods that had descended into the world. Immortals, real immortals! In an instant, countless people on the streets of Lin City knelt down heavily to the 2 figures. Their faces were filled with shock and respect. As expected, the immortals of the Ethereal Palace have finally come. Mr. Yi shouldn't have killed the people of the Ethereal Palace. Now, I'm afraid a good wedding is going to turn into a funeral. Sigh, what a pity. These two are at least early-stage soul formation cultivators. How can mad Southern Yi, who doesn't have much time left, be their match when they work together? Countless cultivators' expressions changed when they sensed the monstrous pressure that descended from the sky. However, most of them were worried for Yi Chen. The Yi family is completely finished today. Those who had grudges with Yi Chen were gloating. At the same time, everyone in Nine Dragons Bay could not help but be shocked when the ethereal patriarch and the patriarch of Valley Yin appeared. The Xiang family's head, Xiang Songha's expression changed drastically. Oh no, the powerhouses of the ethereal palace are here to seek revenge. What a powerful pressure. Facing them is like facing two real gods. The Medicine King, Sun Zhaoyan, sucked in a breath of cold air and said with a bitter smile, "It's over. Mr. Yi is in danger." He was not the only one. Even Yi Hai, Wulan, Yiwen, and the rest had a drastic change in expression. Are they finally here? Yi Chen squinted and lifted his eyes to size up the two figures in the sky. His gaze was cold. But why did you guys have to pick the day of my wedding? I don't want to be stained with blood. Ha ha ha. Almost at that moment, Fang Mingwei and his grandson, who were about to leave, could not help but laugh. Yi, did you see that? Fang Rui turned his head and said to Yi Chen while smirking, I told you that too many people want you dead, but you didn't listen to me. Greetings, exalted immortals. Fang Mingwei took a few steps forward and looked up into the air, saying, I'm Fang Mingwei, the head of the Fang family in Yanjin. I know Elder Guo from the Taichu Temple. So you're a disciple of fellow Taoist Guo? The ethereal ancestor nodded and said coldly, Since you're not from the Yi clan, please step aside. Yuhan, Fang Mingwei immediately turned around and said to Su Yuhan, Quick, come here. As long as you cut ties with Lil Yi now, my family can protect you. The Yi family is finished today. However, to his disappointment, Su Yuhan stood next to Yi Chen and held his hand tightly. She looked at him as if she was watching a joke. Seeing this, Fang Mingwei couldn't help but feel angry. The ethereal ancestor looked down at Yi Chen in a condescending manner. Mad Southern Yi, if you walk in front of us and accept your death today, I can spare your family. Yi Chen stopped Yi Wushuang and Xiao He, who were about to attack. Subsequently, he took a step forward and looked straight at the ethereal ancestor and the patriarch of Guyin. Why do you have to force me to kill people today? If you want to die, why don't you choose tomorrow? You still dare to boast shamelessly even when you're about to die. The patriarch of Guyin's eyes were sinister. Not only will you die today, but everyone related to you will also die. I'll extract your souls and torture them forever. Very good, very good. Yi Chen's gaze gradually turned cold. He then turned to look at Su Yuhan and said softly, Wife, wait for me. Watch your husband slaughter the dogs. Wushuang, patriarch, protect everything for me. Since we're going to kill today, let's turn the world upside down. Let's kill until blood flows like a river. Let's treat it as using blood to pave the way for my wedding. With that, he rose 10,000 meters into the sky. His suit was extremely neat. Monstrous divine flames jumped in his deep eyes as he stared at the two of them indifferently. I'll kill you 2 pieces of trash in 3 moves. Be *starred. The ethereal ancestor was furious. Forget about 3 moves. If you can make me frown in 300 moves, I'll let you do whatever you want to me. Then die. Yi Chen took a step forward, and the aura on his body suddenly skyrocketed. Fellow ethereal, leave this person to me. The patriarch of Gu Ingate sneered and attacked before the ethereal ancestor could. With a flick of his sleeve, endless black murderous energy shot out from his sleeve. The black murderous energy was like a tornado, stirring up terrifying waves that caused the entire space to churn. It was accompanied by soul-stirring wails and howls. Everyone on the ground could not help but look worried when they saw that. Even though Yi Hai and the rest knew Yi Chen's ability, they could not help but worry. After all, they knew very well that Yi Chen's health was not very good. Xiao He comforted Su Yuhan. Don't worry, mistress. Although master is injured, he's more than enough to kill these two old dogs who took advantage of him. Fang Mingwei and his grandson sneered, as if they could see Yi Chen's miserable end. That would make them feel better. The patriarch of Gu Yin charged at Yi Chen with terrifying murderous energy. He grinned, Mad Southern Yi, you destroyed my Gu Yin gate. You deserve this calamity today. However, Yi Chen was expressionless, as if he did not see the patriarch of Gu Yin gate's terrifying attack. He merely extended a finger and pointed at the former. Boom! At that moment, a 10,000-foot-tall golden god phantom appeared out of thin air above his head. The phantom's expression was indifferent, as if it was a god looking down on the world. Emperor Greenwood Finger. Yi Chen's expression was still calm, and his tone was cold. Boom! The god phantom slowly extended a sparkling and resplendent finger that emitted a dazzling golden light. The finger was like a giant pillar that pierced through the heavens and earth, crushing everything. This divinity was a divinity that he had comprehended after fusing the 4 elemental spirit pearls in the Forbidden Sea. Buzz, the 10,000-foot-tall finger directly crushed the void and struck the world. It carried an ancient and dignified aura as it whistled towards the patriarch of Gu Yin. Even the ethereal ancestor couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over his body when he saw this scene. Oh no! At that moment, the patriarch of Gu Yin's spell was immediately interrupted. His expression changed drastically, and a shocking treasure light enveloped his body. At the same time, all the hairs on his body stood up. He immediately shouted loudly, and then turned into 6 black shadows that dashed in 6 different directions. Such methods and mentality were smart and quick-witted. However, it was useless against Yi Chen's 10,000-foot-tall finger. Rumble, the 10,000-foot-tall finger directly covered a radius of 10,000 foot tall, as if it had turned the entire place into purgatory on earth. At the same time, it included the patriarch of Gu Yin's 6 clones. In an instant, 5 of the patriarch of Gu Yin's clones were destroyed. No. Looking at the 10,000-foot-tall finger that was like a collapsing pillar, his last clone could not help but let out an unwilling roar. Boom! The 10,000-foot-tall finger descended, and the clone was instantly turned into dust. He killed the patriarch of Gu Yin with a single finger. At that moment, the heavens and the earth suddenly fell into dead silence. P.S. There's no more Chapter 3. I just got home, so I can only write this chapter. It can be considered a guaranteed update. Chapter 1407. The patriarch of Gu Yin was killed with a single finger. Everyone's eyes were completely stunned. Then, they looked at the white-haired figure standing proudly in the air with a dazzling divine light. Ethereal Patriarch's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. The beginner stage transformation stage Patriarch of Gu Yin died just like that? On the other hand, Gu Yingying and the rest on the ground looked like they had seen a ghost. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. At that moment it was as if the entire world had stopped. How is this possible? How is this possible? Fang Mingwei and his grandson were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out because the scene before them was completely different from what they had expected. To them, although Yi Chen was known as the Earth's number 1 17 years ago, Earth had undergone earth-shattering changes in the past 17 years. Yi Chen most likely could not keep up with the times. Moreover, Yi Chen did not have much time left. How much combat power could a dying person unleash? Therefore, they felt that Yi Chen had no chance of winning today. However, the truth was that the patriarch of Gu Yin was killed instantly. In an instant, countless auras hidden in the void paused before fluctuating violently. Clearly, even the mysterious powerhouses who were spying on this area were shocked. Great! After a brief silence, cheers erupted like a tide. Gu Yingying and the rest were so excited that they could not control themselves. Who said that the 17-year-old legend of Earth had fallen? Yi Chen had once again proven everything with his combat strength. Mad Southern Yi, wasn't it rumored that you were only at mid-stage nascent soul 17 years ago? At the same time, a voice filled with shock and disbelief came from the ethereal patriarch's mouth. How did you grow to this extent in just 17 years? He was certain that Yi Chen's strength was at least at beginner stage soul formation. In just 17 years, he had gone from mid-stage nascent soul to beginner stage soul formation. Even in the cultivation world, he was a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Thinking to this point, he gradually felt a trace of regret. Hearing that, the Patriarch of Hell, who was on the ground, could not help but scoff. In reality, he had underestimated Yi Chen. Yi Chen had been in the ancient desolate realm for less than 2 years. In 2 years, he had advanced from mid-nascent soul to late-stage soul transformation. If news of this got out, it would definitely shock the top 100 stars in the world. Yi Chen placed his hands behind his back when he met the ethereal patriarch's fearful gaze. His killing intent did not decrease. Instead, it increased 2 more moves. It's enough to kill you. The patriarch of ethereal's face turned cold. Yi, are you sure you want to fight me to the death? Right now, you're forcefully consuming your qi and blood. If this goes on, you'll definitely die. Why don't you give up? I said I'll kill you, so I'll kill you. Yi Chen took a step forward. This kid was able to kill fellow Taoist Gu, so his strength is probably not inferior to this old man's. Looking at how confident he is, I'm afraid he still has the strength to unleash that terrifying finger attack just now. Ethereal Ancestor's eyes were sinister. Although I'm confident that I can take that blow, I will have to pay a price. It will affect my plan in Inshu in the future. It's not worth it for 3 useless nascent soul cultivators. We can't fight. Retreat. He was an old monster who had lived for thousands of years, so his temperament was naturally different from ordinary people. In an instant, he had thoroughly comprehended the power within. At the next moment, he immediately spat a mouthful of blood essence. The moment his face turned pale, his body turned into a blood-red streak and shot out at the speed of lightning without hesitation. Countless people were in an uproar when they saw that. 2 god transformation stage powerhouses had joined forces to kill Yi Chen, but in the end, one of them died and the other fled? You can't escape. Monstrous killing intent surged in Yi Chen's eyes. As he took a step forward, ripples immediately rippled out from the void. His figure immediately disappeared from heaven and earth, merging into the void. He was actually 30% faster than the ethereal ancestor's blood escape. When Yi Chen's figure appeared again, the blood shadow that the ethereal ancestor had transformed into was less than 30 meters away from him. Yi Chen did not hesitate at all. He extended his hand in an extremely simple manner and slapped the space where the ethereal ancestor was. The palm landed on the void, causing the space to collapse. Then, it turned into an earth-shattering storm that swept in all directions at an extremely terrifying speed. Blurred. Under such a storm, the ethereal ancestor's blood escape collapsed instantly. He spat a mouthful of blood, and his face was extremely pale. At that moment, his heart was filled with horror. 1 palm. Yi Chen had injured him with just 1 palm. Only then did he believe what Yi Chen had said earlier. Killing him within 2 moves was not just an empty promise. Thinking to this point, he retreated hurriedly. As he retreated, he roared, "Fellow Yi, I didn't touch a single hair on your body. Why are you forcing me?" Many people who had been following from afar were dumbfounded. The dignified ethereal ancestor was beaten by Yi Chen to the point of running away like a rat and begging for mercy? Yi Chen's expression was cold as he stopped and looked at him. "Today is my wedding day. I didn't want to start a bloodbath, but you guys insisted on courting death at this time. Since that's the case, let's kill until blood flows like a river." With that, he stepped into the air and threw a punch. As soon as the fist force took shape, endless lightning moved in the sky. It was as if the hand of the thunder god had shaken the world. Universe collapsing lightning strike. As an extremely indifferent voice slowly came out of Yi Chen's mouth, the lightning between heaven and earth turned into a terrifying seven-colored lightning ball. It faintly emitted an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. Thunderous booms reverberated in the air, and a terrifying storm containing dazzling lightning surged out, crashing down on the ethereal patriarch. Boom! Amidst the earth-shattering explosion, the ethereal ancestor spat a mouthful of blood and screamed. His body collapsed, and his primordial spirit emerged with a horrified expression. Sensing Yi Chen's attack again, the ethereal ancestor's primordial spirit was even more terrified. He roared into the air, "Fellow Tianque, save me! I'll repay you handsomely!" As his voice fell, the space before him suddenly shook. The space in front of him suddenly shook, and then a green figure appeared. It was a green-clothed old man with a walking stick. The old man glanced at the remaining primordial spirit of the ethereal ancestor and cupped his fists at Yi Chen. "Fellow Yi, I'm Tianque, old man from Tianque Valley. Can you let him go for my sake?" Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Yi Chen's indifferent voice. "Those who save him will die too." As this voice fell, heaven and earth shook for a moment. Tianque old man's expression changed slightly, as if he did not expect Yi Chen to reject him so arrogantly. The ethereal ancestor cried for help again. "Fellow Tianque, save me, save me!" The ethereal ancestor took a deep breath in and looked at Yi Chen again. "Fellow Yi, you've already established your reputation by killing fellow Gu." End of this chapter. Chapter 1408. Then you can go to hell too. Yi Chen did not give him a chance to talk nonsense. He raised his hand and pointed forward. As soon as this finger appeared, heaven and earth rumbled. In the turbulent void, a huge, crystal-clear, resplendent pillar-like finger appeared out of thin air, forming a monstrous pressure that annihilated everything. It was the Greenwood Emperor's finger. "Stop, stop. I won't care about this anymore." At that moment, the expression of Elder Tianque, who was originally extremely gloomy, changed drastically. After inhaling a breath of cold air, his figure instantly disappeared between heaven and earth. Initially, he thought that Yi Chen would definitely be exhausted after using such terrifying divinity consecutively. Coupled with the tempting promise of the ethereal patriarch, he could not help but step forward to protect the ethereal patriarch. As soon as he left, the ethereal patriarch's primordial spirit was completely exposed to Yi Chen's Greenwood Emperor's finger. "Stop! Stop right now!" Almost at that moment, several figures with powerful auras rushed over from afar. The person in the lead was a soul formation powerhouse. Yi Chen ignored those words. With a finger, he crushed the ethereal patriarch's soul directly under his unwilling and fearful gaze. Everyone that was paying attention to this scene fell into a deathly silence at this moment. Before this, who would have thought that the outcome would be like this? Yi Chen killed 2 early-stage soul formation powerhouses consecutively and even forced the patriarch of Tianque to flee? Was this the legend that had fallen in many people's eyes? Had he really fallen? 9 Dragons Bei's Fang Mingwei and his grandson seemed to have lost their souls as they watched this scene in disbelief. How is this possible? How is this possible? Everyone's expressions froze at the same time. Someone shivered and could not help but mutter, "Mad Southern Yi has once again used blood to announce his return." Unfortunately, such a terrifying existence doesn't have much time left. However, most people felt that it was a pity. At the same time, Yi Chen's face turned paler in the air. It was as if a gust of wind could blow him away. It seemed like his body's condition was worsening. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 3 old men in black shot over and landed before Yi Chen. The leader, a malicious old man with high cheekbones, glared at Yi Chen and said coldly, "How dare you, Mad Southern Yi? How dare you disobey my orders?" The 3 of them had come with the intention of protecting the ethereal old ancestor. Never would they have imagined that they would still be a step too late. Yi Chen stood still and took a good look at the 3 of them coldly. "Who are you guys? Are you also here to die? Bastard! A person behind the malicious old man stood up and said coldly, "We are from the extraterrestrial civilization judicial department. We are responsible for negotiating and handling the conflicts between the extraterrestrial sects and the cultivators on Earth." At this point, he couldn't help but snort coldly. You killed people from the foreign sects without the permission of the foreign civilization judicial department. You disregarded the rules. How should you be punished? Yi Chen responded calmly when he heard that. He looked at the three of them as if he was sneering, "So be it. What are you guys going to do about it?" What an arrogant brat! The malicious old man's gaze turned cold as he took over the topic. Mad Southern Yi, you violated the rules of the extraterrestrial civilization judicial department. I'm informing you now. Come with me. The two people behind him charged at Yi Chen as they spoke. You guys want to capture me? Yi Chen's gaze turned cold all of a sudden. Are you guys forcing me to become your enemy for a few enemies from the outer world? The extraterrestrial civilization judicial department was obviously created by the higher-up. The starting point was good, but he did not expect the higher-ups to use it on him, Yi Chen. At the same time, the Patriarch of Hell shot over and looked at the three of them coldly. I'd like to see if you guys have the ability to take him away today. Boom! In an instant, a terrifying pressure erupted from the Patriarch of Hell's body. The pressure caused the three of them to take a step back subconsciously. Early stage God transformation stage. The malicious old man's pupils constricted violently. When he looked at the Patriarch of Hell again, his gaze was filled with fear. Who are you? Are you sure you want to stop the extraterrestrial civilization judicial department? Clearly, even he did not expect Yi Chen to have a God transformation stage powerhouse by his side. Who is the Patriarch? You three pieces of trash don't have the right to know. The Patriarch of Hell smiled sinisterly. The malicious old man's expression changed a few times before he sneered. Mad Southern Yi, are you sure you want to go against the extraterrestrial civilization judicial department today? At this point, he threatened. I forgot to remind you that there are master stage or even perfect stage God transformation stage existences in the extraterrestrial civilization judicial department. So what? An undetectable gleam flashed through Yi Chen's eyes. Even the old ancestor of Hell's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He did not expect there to be such a terrifying expert up there. Nothing, the malicious old man said in a deep voice. I know that the three of us can't take you down if we fight you today. However, the extraterrestrial judicial department will definitely not stop after this. At that time, you'll be going against the higher-ups. So be it. The Patriarch of Hell did not mind. The elder ancestor wasn't from Earth, so he didn't have the slightest sense of immersion in everything on Earth. In his opinion, the universe was so big that it could accommodate him anywhere. Another person frowned and said, We're only asking Mad Southern Yi to go over for investigation. When the matter is investigated, we'll definitely do it according to the rules. Not bad. The malicious old man looked at Yi Chen fixedly. Mad Southern Yi, don't forget that you're also a Chinese. Why would we help the enemy from the outside world? All right, I'll go with you. Yi Chen took a deep breath in and said, But I need to report to my family. Of course, we will wait for you. The sinister-looking old man nodded. After saying that, Yi Chen's body flashed and he dashed toward Nine Dragons Bay immediately. The Patriarch of Hell caught up with him and said with a frown, Fellow Yi, they're no match for you at all. Why? Cathay has changed. Yi Chen sighed softly and said, I've become unfamiliar. I think something's wrong with someone. I must figure out what's wrong. The Patriarch of Hell was right. He had even destroyed the Immortal Palace, let alone a mere extraterrestrial judicial department. However, the latter was an official organization after all. Whether it was Old Chen, Niu Qingshan, Old Master Gu, or the rest, they all believed in loyalty. If he were to go against the higher-ups, these people probably wouldn't want to see it. The Patriarch of Hell sighed softly and stopped trying to persuade him. At Nine Dragons Bay, everyone was looking forward to it. Yi Hai, Su Yuhan, and the rest heaved a sigh of relief after seeing Yi Chen return safely. Meanwhile, Fong Mingwei and his grandson did not dare to look him in the eye. Yi Chen walked over and walked to his parents while holding Su Yuhan's hand. He said while smiling, "Dad, Mom, I have something to do. I'll be back soon." End of this chapter. Chapter 1409. Why do you have to leave at this time? Yi Hai frowned, but he could not bear to ask further. Forget it. Come back quickly. Today is your and Yuhan's wedding day. Don't let Yuhan wait too long. Alright. Yi Chen smiled and turned around to look at Su Yuhan. He whispered into her ear, "Wait for me, honey. I'll be back soon. I definitely won't delay our wedding night." Su Yuhan's pretty face heated up immediately. Clearly, she could not take such direct words. However, she still nodded heavily. "Hubby, I'll wait for you." She seemed to find it difficult to say the word hubby, so her nasal voice was dragged out like a soft hum. Yi Chen felt like his bones had gone soft when he heard the word hubby. It was the first time Su Yuhan had called him that. In his excitement, he could not help but lower his head to kiss the beauty's red lips. However, he only tasted it lightly, like a dragonfly skimming the water. "Patriarch, Wu Shuang, protect Yuhan and my parents the entire time after I leave. If necessary, inform the Patriarch of Green Spirit and the rest." After secretly sending voice transmissions to Yi Wuxuang and the Patriarch of Hell through divine consciousness, Yi Chen took a step out and arrived 10,000 meters in the sky in the blink of an eye. With Yi Wuxuang, the Patriarch of Hell, the Patriarch of Green Spirit, and 20 to 30 God transformation stage powerhouses, he was not worried about the safety of Su Yuhan and the rest. 10,000 meters in the sky, Yi Chen regained his cold expression. He glanced at the three of them and said, "Let's go." On the outskirts of the capital, thousands of kilometers away from Lin City, there was a dense forest that was controlled by the military. Although the forest was not big, it looked ordinary. However, when the old man stopped in his tracks and tossed out a token, the formation before Yi Chen changed all of a sudden. What he saw was a small world that seemed to have been opened up. Formation. Yi Chen's eyes flickered when he saw that. It seems like China has achieved a lot of results in their research on formations. Could this formation have been obtained from some cave abode or ruin? Let's go. The old man led him into the brand new small world. At that moment, a strange gleam flashed through his eyes. Boom. However, after an earth-shattering noise, countless stone pillars suddenly appeared out of nowhere in the void. These stone pillars surrounded Yi Chen. Subsequently, they activated dazzling formation barriers that enveloped Yi Chen. A terrifying aura and vast energy spread out. From afar, it looked like a cage of heaven and earth. Before Yi Chen could speak, the sinister old man outside sneered and said, "Mad Southern Yi, you slaughtered the foreign sects without permission and affected the overall situation. According to the orders from above, you're to be suppressed here and sentenced to death within 3 days." However, to his surprise, Yi Chen, who was in the cage, was expressionless. He did not even react. He couldn't help but frown. "You're still so calm when you're about to die? I knew you'd be like this." Yi Chen looked at him as if he was mocking him. He shook his head slowly and said, "I have to say that you guys have disappointed me too much. The extreme disappointment is destruction." Shameless boasting. The sinister-looking old man could not help but scoff coldly. This formation was obtained from a prehistoric ruin in China. It once killed a perfected soul formation powerhouse from another world. You'll be completely refined in less than 3 days if you stay here. At this point, he said with a spurious smile, "Similarly, these 3 days are also your chance. If you're willing to tell us where you went 17 years ago and why you have such a cultivation base, perhaps we'll cripple your cultivation base at most and not kill you." "So you guys are coveting my fortuitous encounter?" Yi Chen chuckled. Very well, very well. I'll give you guys 3 days to. If the person in charge of the Judgment Division doesn't kowtow to me within 3 days, you'll have to bear the consequences. Just stay here, you." The sinister old man sneered and turned around to leave. At the same time, a piece of heavy news was announced by the Foreign Judgment Division. Mad Southern Yi has been sent to prison for slaughtering people from the foreign sex. As soon as the news spread, the entire China was shaken. Yi Hai and Wu Lan fainted on the spot, but Su Yuhan was exceptionally strong. She took care of the 2 children and the 2 old people at the same time. Yi Wen and the rest of the girls ran to comfort her. Unexpectedly, Su Yuhan smiled lightly. "My husband can even destroy the immortal palace, let alone a mere Foreign Judgment Division's prison." Only then did the girls feel relieved. "Are you kidding me? Mad Southern Yi killed an enemy from the outer realm, so why is he locked up? Also, what the hell is this Foreign Judgment Division? You guys probably don't know about this. It's said that this Foreign Judgment Division is the most mysterious organization in China. All the people in it are extremely powerful. Mad Southern Yi is doomed to fall into this tough guy's hands." However, the outside world was in an uproar. Countless people were discussing it, and they even posted their orders online. In Beijing, the Foreign Judgment Division's office was tightly surrounded by a sea of people. All sorts of curses caused many staff in the office to panic. Amidst the crowd, an old man about 100 years old stood by the side of the road, trembling. "The people from the foreign sects have killed so many cultivators in China. It's fine if the Foreign Judgment Division doesn't care, but they even captured their own people. What's going on? I'd like to ask, what's the logic behind this?" After saying that, he took off his shirt with trembling hands and pointed at the densely packed bullet holes on it, saying, "This old man is 120 years old this year, and all the bullet holes on it were left by the Japanese back then. Is your extraterritorial judicial department going to arrest me as well?" The onlookers were all solemn. This was a veteran who had shed his blood for the country and the people. Now that he was about to die, he was standing up for Mad Southern Yi. Behind him was an endless dragon of people. The average age of these people was over 100 years old. "We're not convinced. Get the person in charge to come out and give us an explanation." In the Foreign Judgment Division's office, the sinister old man watched this scene coldly. "Let them cause trouble. Just ignore them. They'll leave when Mad Southern Yi dies." At the eastern border, amidst the endless mountains, there was a military encampment. It was the largest military camp. At that moment, there was a middle-aged man in military uniform. The middle-aged man had long golden hair. Although his face was handsome, there was a lot of vicissitudes and determination on his face. "Good, very good." The middle-aged man slammed the telegram in his hand on the table and flew into a rage. "The Foreign Judgment Division has been going overboard in recent years. Now they've even gone against the will of the people and captured Brother Yi." A man in military uniform asked, "General Luo, what should we do?" General Luo suddenly shouted, "Everyone, stand up!" Boom! In an instant, the hundreds of generals who were sitting upright in front of him stood up in unison. Their movements were orderly and powerful like flowing water. "Since some people are ignorant, let's teach them a lesson so that they know Brother Ye's position in the hearts of these soldiers." General Luo ordered, "Send a secret message to the Foreign Judgment Division. Release Brother Yi immediately. Otherwise, the millions of soldiers of the eastern camp will retreat immediately. If we release Brother Yi 2 hours later, our millions of soldiers will retreat 100 kilometers. Why the hell are we still guarding the eastern border? We're bathing in blood and disregarding life and death. Is it just to give these people a stable life?" "Yes." At the northern border, an urgent and ear-piercing voice suddenly broke the silence. "Gather, everyone gather. General Song has ordered that from now on, our northern army will retreat 100 kilometers every 2 hours." In a green brick courtyard at the western border, a loud laugh shook the world. I knew that Luo Tianya and Song Chia wouldn't be able to sit still. Since that's the case, our Western territory can't miss this show either. The owner of the voice sneered. Jin pass down my order. From now on, our Western army will retreat 100 kilometers every 2 hours unless we receive a new order from me. At the same time, send a telegram to that bastard Xiong Yukai in the south. If he kneels down to the Foreign Judgment Division now, after this matter, the three of us will work together to chop off his head and use it as a stool. End of this chapter. Chapter 1410. On the second day of Yi Chen's imprisonment, more and more people gathered outside the capital's Foreign Adjudication Department. They protested and demanded Yi Chen's release. There were even conflict. Fortunately, there were no deaths. The atmosphere in the Foreign Adjudication Department's office was terrifyingly silent. The Jinling Chamber of Commerce requests the release of Mad Southern Yi. Otherwise, they will cut off all business with the Foreign Adjudication Department. The person in charge of the National Bank requests the release of Mad Southern Yi. Otherwise, they will ask the Foreign Adjudication Department to repay the debt of 1 million spirit stones. Many people in the army have resigned. The sinister old man's face turned extremely grim when he heard the news from all directions. He did not expect Yi Chen's influence in China to be so terrifying. From the commoners to the business world, the political world, and the military, all the big shots demanded Yi Chen's release. Someone stammered, "Old man Yuan, what should we do now?" Almost all the people at the bottom of the Foreign Adjudication Department were shocked by the commotion. After all, there had never been such a situation since the establishment of the Foreign Adjudication Department. You want the Foreign Adjudication Department to release him? Old man Yuan smirked coldly. Just as he made up his mind, a subordinate walked over quickly with a phone and said in a trembling voice, "Old man Yuan, the Chief of Staff of the Northern Border wants to talk to you." Northern Border? It turned out that his expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly picked up the phone. Before he could speak, a cold voice came from the other side. "Yuan Jinshan, I'm the Chief of Staff of the Northern Border Camp, Lin Yen. Leave now and release Mad Southern Yi immediately. Otherwise, the million troops in the north will retreat 50 kilometers every 2 hours from now on." Yuan Jinshan's expression finally changed. ****, are you guys rebelling? However, before he could finish, the phone was hung up. "Threatening me? How dare they threaten me?" Yuan Jinshan roared as he looked at the empty hall. As one of the few early-stage soul formation powerhouses in the Foreign Adjudication Department, it was the first time he had lost his composure like this. "Old man Yuan, there's a telegram from the East." Another person walked in quickly. The peerless war god of the East, Luo Tianya, sent a telegram to the Foreign Adjudication Department. "Release Mad Southern Yi immediately. Otherwise, the Eastern camp will retreat 50 kilometers every 2 hours. Before Yuan Jinshan could react, another urgent voice was heard. "Old man Yuan, the million troops under the master of the Western region, Ning Yutian, are retreating from the front line." Plop! The 3 consecutive emergency reports caused Yuan Jinshan's expression to completely change. Then, he fell heavily to the ground. "Crazy, they're all crazy. They're actually doing such a crazy thing for Mad Southern Yi. Elder Yuan, General Xiong Yukai from the Southern Battle Camp, hasn't made a move yet," someone reminded. "Right, there's also Xiong Yukai." Yuan Jinshan immediately reacted. "Xiong Yukai is someone planted by the Extraterritorial Judicial Department. He definitely won't rebel against us." At the southern border, under the blazing furnace-like shed, there was a bald man lying on the cool ground eating watermelon. Beside him, a soldier read the telegram. "General Xiong, General Luo of the East, General Ning of the West, and General Song of the North have jointly asked you to withdraw the army immediately, otherwise—" At this point, he wanted to say something but hesitated. He didn't dare to continue reading, as if the following contents were somewhat unsightly. "Otherwise what?" The melon-eating burly man scoffed. there's no need to think about it. This must be sent by that King Ning Yutian. The soldier hesitated for a moment and said, "You're right. General Ning said that you shouldn't kneel and lick the extraterritorial judicial department. Otherwise, the three of them will chop off your head and use it as a seat. Damn it, can't you let me eat my melon in peace?" The bald burly man sat up angrily and said with a sneer, "This King Ning Yutian is so arrogant. How dare he threaten me, old Xiong?" "General, should we reject them?" Someone opened his mouth. The bald burly man suddenly raised his hand. "Use my name to send a telegram to the extraterritorial judicial department to release Mad Southern Yi. Otherwise, from now on, the southern battle camp will retreat 50 kilometers every 2 hours. This old thing, Yuan Jinshan, is too stupid. He could have attacked anyone, but he had to attack Mad Southern Yi." At this point, he grinned and swallowed the half of the watermelon in his hand. "All right, the 4 battle camps are all here now." The atmosphere in the extraterritorial judicial department was terrifyingly cold. Yuan Jinshan lay on the armchair. His eyes were lifeless, and he was furious to the extreme. "Xiong Yukai, you're good. You're really good." The servants standing beside him were even more terrified. This time it was completely chaotic. The 4 battle camps all protected Mad Southern Yi and retreated behind the battle line in unison. The consequence of retreating was that the battle line that they had painstakingly penetrated would completely collapse. In the end, it would allow the foreign army to march in. At that time, the outcome would cause their extraterritorial judicial department to be roasted on the fire and become a criminal for eternity. Ring ring ring. At that moment, a phone rang, completely shattering Xiong Yotsai's psychological defense. A subordinate gulped and said, "Old Yuan, it's the Imperial City's special line." Yuan Jinshan took a deep breath in and walked over quickly. He picked up the phone with trembling hands. Before he could speak, an extremely cold voice came from it. "Is your extraterritorial judicial department trying to overturn the heavens? I'll give you an hour to release him." "Yes." Yuan Jinshan, who was as powerful as a beginner-stage incarnation, could not help but feel his heart twitch when he heard this voice. Then, he nodded heavily. After hanging up the phone, he brought his men to the place where Yi Chen was locked up without saying a word. It was not an exaggeration to describe him as panicking. Mad Southern Yi actually alarmed that person. In the outskirts of the capital, in a small world that was opened up, Yi Chen sat cross-legged, as if he had fallen into a tortoise's sleep. Boom! Following a loud bang, Yuan Jinshan walked in quickly with his men. Almost at that moment, Yi Chen's eyes opened all of a sudden. Yuan Jinshan's eyes twitched as he glanced at Yi Chen. He said coldly, "Mad Southern Yi, you can leave now." He lifted his hand and took out a token after saying that. He was about to remove the formation that trapped Yi Chen when he heard Yi Chen say, "The environment here isn't bad. I don't plan to leave yet." B*****. Yuan Jinshan could no longer suppress the anger in him. "Yi, don't you know how to appreciate favors?" "Old thing, you're the one who doesn't know how to appreciate favors." Yi Chen shouted and interrupted him. His eyes were cold as he said, "What? It's easy to invite a god in, but it's hard to send him away. Do you think I'm someone you can capture and release as you wish?" Yuan Jinshan was furious. "Do you really think you can imprison me with this stupid formation of yours?" Yi Chen squinted at him. His gaze was extremely cold. "I just want to see how miserable your fate will be." End of this chapter. Chapter 14:11. Even though Yi Chen did not go out, he did not know what had happened in the past 2 days. However, he could tell from Yuan Jinshan's attitude. The latter was facing pressure. He could roughly guess where this pressure was coming from. What he really wanted to know was what the attitude of the higher-ups was. That was also why Yi Chen was willing to go to the capital this time, and even watch Yuan Jinshan imprison him with a stupid formation. He had seen too many things that made him dissatisfied when he returned to Earth this time. This time, he planned to kill everyone and completely kill these foreign sects and foreign tribes until they trembled in fear. Then, the attitude of the higher-ups was very important. After all, unless it was absolutely necessary, Yi Chen did not want to go that far. "All right, you're the one who didn't want to come out." Yuan Jinshan sneered and said, "All right 3 times. Then, he flung his sleeve and left with his men. Meanwhile, the debate in the outside world about whether Yi Chen had been released intensified. In just one day, the north, south, east, and west battle camps had retreated 1,200 kilometers. So, the situation is getting more and more serious. If this continues, in less than 3 days, the foreign tribe army will be able to invade the hinterland of China, a subordinate reported to Yuan Jinshan in fear. By then, even the director won't be able to protect us, and we'll become sinners. Yuan Jinshan staggered, and his face turned pale. At this moment, he finally began to feel fear. What could make a beginner-stage transformation cultivator fear was not a sinner, but the methods of the higher-up. Although he was only a beginner-stage transformation cultivator, any one of the personal guards of the higher-ups could kill him. "Quick, let's go to the prison." Yuan Jinshan immediately brought his men to the prison in the suburbs. He took a deep breath in and said to Yi Chen while smiling, "Mr. Yi, I didn't do things properly earlier. I hope you won't hold a grudge against me. I'm willing to apologize to you." "Is this how you apologize?" Yi Chen looked at him as if he was mocking him. Yuan Jinshan's expression changed slightly, but he still said, "Then, how do you want me to apologize to appease your anger, Mr. Yi?" Yi Chen tidied his sleeves and looked at him calmly. Then, he said slowly, "Kneel. I'll give you a chance. Kowtow to me 3 times. Yuan Jinshan's expression changed drastically when he heard that. He looked at Yi Chen with an extremely grim expression. "Yi, don't cross the line. Have a safe journey." Yi Chen smiled lightly. "Yi, since you're so insensible, then don't blame me." Yuan Jinshan's expression changed again and again. A hint of madness flashed in his eyes. "I didn't expect the higher-ups to value you so much that they've even alarmed that person. You've forced me into a corner. In that case, I will suppress you here today and hide in Yinsu. Let's see how they can find me." As soon as he finished speaking, he let out a roar and quickly formed a seal with both of his palms. Immediately, a terrifying formation power swept out. "Yi, the formation that imprisoned you came from an ancient martial tomb in the Yin ruins. It's protected by the corpse of an ancient almighty. Today, I'll activate it with all my might. Die." He looked hysterical. Subsequently, he pointed at the formation light pillar around Yi Chen from afar. He wanted to completely activate the terror within it. However, the formation light pillar did not move. Blurred. At that moment, Yuan Jinshan could not help but spit a mouthful of blood and took 2 steps back. Then, he looked at the formation light pillar in confusion. "What's going on? What's going on? Why can't I activate it?" "Because of me." In an instant, a ghost-like voice swept over from afar. Then, a man wearing a golden mask slowly walked over. The man was tall, and his facial features were completely covered by the golden mask. Only his gray sideburns could be seen. Following his appearance, Yuan Jinshan's pupils constricted violently. And then he cried out involuntarily as if he had seen a terrifying existence, "Lord Divine General!" At the same time, Yi Chen, who was about to attack, had a grim expression on his face. He fixed his gaze on the person. For some reason, the person gave him a familiar feeling. Yuan Jinshan. The golden-masked man arrived silently and said indifferently, "You've received many benefits from the foreign sects over the years. I thought you'd become so arrogant that you wouldn't even recognize your own family. I didn't expect you to recognize me. Lord Divine General, spare me." Yuan Jinshan knelt heavily on the ground and kowtowed like he was pounding garlic. I know my mistake, I know my mistake. Don't worry, I won't implicate your family. The golden-masked man sighed faintly. Then, he extended a hand and slapped Yuan Jinshan's head. At that moment, his hand immediately erupted with a monstrous might. It was as if it had come to life. It was crystal clear, and the bones could be seen. It was like an ancient, ferocious beast had awakened. What's this? At that moment Yi Chen's eyes focused. Is this the purest martial god's arm? No, it's grafted. This person actually grafted a martial god's arm. Martial god did not refer to a realm. Instead, it was a person who could shatter the void and ascend to the outside world with his fists after cultivating to a certain level. In reality, there had been countless debates since ancient times about whether martial arts or cultivation was stronger or weaker. However, martial gods could kill many cultivators at the same time. It didn't matter what spirit treasure or magic treasure you had. Martial gods only needed to break all techniques with their strength. No. The moment the golden-masked man extended his hand, Yuan Jinshan roared unwillingly. Then, he frantically burned the life force in his body and charged at the former. Why do you value a dying person so much? Even if Yi was once a legend of China, so what? Why are you guys forcing me? After the golden-masked man attacked, he knew that he would definitely die. Therefore, he did not choose to escape. Instead, he chose to fight with his life. Because Brother Yi is the hope of China. And a scum like you can't compare to him even if you die 10,000 times. The golden-masked man nodded slightly. The martial god's arm seemed to have transformed into a ferocious dragon as it pierced through Yuan Jinshan's chest, devouring all of his vital energy and blood. Kacha Yuan Jinshan turned into a pile of white bones and fell to the ground. A mighty beginner-stage transformation stage powerhouse had actually fallen to such a state. The golden-masked man did not even look at the bones on the ground. He lifted his hand to break the formation that imprisoned Yi Chen and said, "Mr. Yi, you can come out now." However, Yi Chen did not move at all as if he did not hear him. He merely stared at him quietly. Should I call you Lord Divine General or Brother Qin? End of this chapter. Chapter 14:12. As soon as he finished speaking, the golden-masked man's body trembled slightly. The golden-masked man's body trembled slightly. He took a deep breath and slowly took off the golden mask on his face. In an instant, a familiar face appeared. It was Qin Xiaotian, old Chen's former bodyguard. He was known as the Zhongnan Sea's bodyguard, and he was once ranked number 2 on the Heaven leaderboard. Brother Qin, it's really you. Yi Chen was overjoyed. He thought that most of his old friends had died. Never did he expect to see an old friend again. How could he not be happy from the bottom of his heart? Brother Yi, Qin Xiaotian sighed and smiled. With a complicated expression, he said, I didn't expect you to recognize me even after I became like this. Thank you for what you did today. Yi Chen glanced at the bones on the ground and shook his head at Qin Xiaotian. But why did you become like this? At this moment, Qin Xiaotian had changed too much from the honest bodyguard by old Chen's side more than 10 years ago. It was as if he had lost all emotions and had become a killing machine. It's a long story. Qin Xiaotian shook his head and said, After old Chen died, I was disheartened and drank all day. After you guys left, the enemy from the outer realm descended, and my sister died in that calamity. Yi Chen was shocked to hear that. His lips moved slightly, but in the end, he could only pat his shoulder. My condolences. Yi Chen remembered Qin Xiaotian's sister, Qin Yao. He still remembered that after he killed Western Overlord Lu on the Chinese Sea, Qin Yao was the one who invited him to join the firearms battalion under old Chen's orders. Because of this, the two of them had a misunderstanding. Unexpectedly, the hot-tempered and straightforward young lady had also died in the calamity of the invasion of Earth by the enemy from the outer realm. Qin Xiaotian and Luo Tianyao were similar. There's nothing to be sorry about, Qin Shaotian smiled bitterly. After my sister died, my heart died completely. My greatest goal in life is to kill all the enemies from the outer realm. His eyes were filled with hatred as he spoke to this point. Yi Chen hesitated. What about your right arm? Are you curious why I have the ability to kill Yuan Jinshan, a beginner stage transformation stage powerhouse? Qin Shaotian took a deep breath and looked at his right arm, which had returned to normal. Because I obtained this arm from the Yin ruins. What exactly is Yin Su? Yi Chen frowned. It was not the first time he had heard of this name. Even before Yuan Jinshan died, he wanted to kill him and hide in the Yin ruins. It's a chaotic place where risks and opportunities coexist. Qin Shaotian shook his head, unwilling to mention it, and said, Someone will explain it to you. Come with me, the higher-ups want to see you, they're finally here. Yi Chen's eyes flashed slightly. In a relatively remote courtyard house in the capital, Qin Shaotian put on the golden mask again and led Yi Chen in without any obstructions. When he reached the door, he turned around and said to Yi Chen, Brother Yi, the person who wants to see you is inside. I won't go in with you. All right. Yi Chen nodded lightly and walked into the simple door step by step. He saw a tall old man in a suit waiting for him with his hands behind his back. Why are you here? When Yi Chen saw the old man's face clearly, he could not help but be shocked despite his calmness. It was because the tall old man was one of the two people he had tried his best to find before he left Earth. Those two people were the products of the two strange fruits that he had used the immortal drift bottle to ripen. Back then, Yi Chen was afraid of their existence and even warned them. Surprised? The tall old man looked at him with a smile. Then, he raised his hand and pointed at the stool beside him. Sit. Yi Chen sat down slowly and looked at him quietly. I know you have a lot of questions. The tall old man smiled faintly. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Gu Quan now. In my previous life, I was born in the Shang dynasty and was known as Daoist Beiyan. You were born in the Shang dynasty? Yi Chen's eyes were moved because it had been more than 3,000 years since the Shang dynasty. He could not help but ask, what about the other one? Gu Quan smiled and explained patiently, he's the same as me, but he's guarding the Yin Su now. Yin Su again, Yi Chen mumbled to himself. Gu Quan glanced at him and said apologetically, Fellow Yi, when you guys went to the ancient desolate realm, fellow Guang Ling and I knew about it. I also know that you've encountered many injustices after you returned. Even though you don't say it, you probably feel indignant. He could not help but stand up and bow to Yi Chen as he spoke to this point. He said, In reality, we were forced to do so. Because the Yin Su is too complicated, almost all of our elites have been transferred to the Yin Su, so we have no time to care about your friends and old friends. When the foreign enemies first invaded, fellow Guang Ling and I also advocated fighting. However, after 5 years of war, we finally realized the strength of the foreign worlds. He smiled bitterly. To be honest, China and even Earth can't afford to fight. Therefore, we could only sit down and negotiate. In the end, this is the current situation. As for the impact that it brought, we are powerless to change it. Yi Chen looked at him fixedly after hearing that. If I'm not wrong, the foreign enemies are here for the Yin Su, right? That's right. Gu Quan took a deep look at him and nodded with a solemn expression. Yin ruins were the ruins of the capital city of Yin Shang in ancient times. I believe fellow Yi knows something about Yin Shang. After all, the ancient God Conferment War was related to it. The ancient Great God Conferment War. Yi Chen's eyes flashed imperceptibly. He could not be more familiar with this rumor. It involved many mythical figures, including primordial figures, and even the battle between the Chan school and Jie school. All in all, it was an era of chaos. As someone who was born in the Shang dynasty, Gu Quan spoke slowly and enunciated word by word. I can tell you responsibly that the ancient Great God Conferment War, including the Heavenly Court, really existed. What did you say? Yi Chen's pupils constricted. These words were simply too shocking. In other words, Earth once had a cultivation civilization that far surpassed the outer realm's starry skies. Otherwise, why do you think the outer realm is invading Earth at all costs? They want to steal the civilization of Earth. Gu Quan looked at him fixedly. The reason why Earth is called the celestial burial planet is because Earth has indeed buried immortals before. At this point, he took a deep breath in and said word by word, and the outer realm wants to obtain the opportunity to become an immortal, the gate of Xian Pin. End of this chapter. Chapter 1413. The opportunity to become an immortal? The door of Xian Pin. Yi Chen's expression changed slightly when he heard Daoist Yan's words, "There's really a chance to become an immortal on Earth?" Although he said that, he could not help but think of the immortal drift bottle in his body. He had obtained it from Earth, and it was also because of it that he had successfully ascended to the immortal world and ascended to the throne of an immortal. "I'm not sure if there is," Daoist Beiyan said bitterly. However, the ancient God-confirmant war and the heavenly court did exist. The only thing that I don't understand is whether these so-called gods and immortals are real immortals or a group of ancient energy refinement cultivators whose cultivation base surpasses ours. Your doubts are not without reason. Yi Chen nodded lightly and said seriously, "Before I descended to Earth, I passed by Mars. I saw the altar where the ancient people worshipped heaven and Earth. It was also there that I saw the top 100 stars in the world. Earth is currently ranked in the hundreds of thousands." At this point, he could not help but stare at the former. "Do you know what was the highest ranking Earth had among the stars?" Daoist Beiyan looked puzzled. "Ranked 6. Yi Chen said word by word. As soon as he said that, even Daoist Beiyan sucked in a breath of cold air. His scalp went numb. Yi Chen looked at him quietly. He knew that this shocking news had affected him greatly. However, if Earth really had the opportunity to become an immortal, it meant that Earth's status in the heavens was probably not lower than the spirit realm. One had to know that the spirit realm was second only to the immortal world and the devil realm. 6th, after a while, Daoist Beiyan gradually returned to his senses. His lips trembled slightly. "This secret is too shocking. Even I've never heard of it in my previous life. I can only say that Earth really existed in a very glorious era." "What's going on with Yin Su?" Yi Chen frowned and said, "I heard that many god transformation stage powerhouses from foreign sects went to Yin Su. Just like I said earlier." Daoist Beiyan said, "Yin Su is the ruins of Yin Shang's capital, and Yin Shang was a chaotic era filled with gods and demons. The cultivation civilization could be said to be prosperous. Therefore, there are too many opportunities left on that land." He seemed to have thought of something and said to Yi Chen while looking at him, "I suppose you've met Qin Xiaotian?" Yi Chen nodded lightly upon hearing that. Daoist Beiyan smiled. "There is a martial tomb in the dark ruins, and an ancient martial god is buried within it. Qin Xiaotian's right arm was obtained from the martial tomb. That was a stroke of luck for that kid." Yi Chen nodded while smiling. He had guessed the uniqueness of Qin Xiaotian's right arm before this, and it seems like Qin Xiaotian's fortuitous encounter. "There are still countless." Taoist Beiyan looked at Yi Chen with a serious expression. "Every fortuitous encounter is enough to make countless people fight to the death for it. It's even enough to make countries compete with each other. These were all left behind by the Qi practitioners of the Shang dynasty?" Yi Chen was surprised. "Not entirely." Daoist Dark North shook his head. "Most of them were the ancestors of the Yin Shang dynasty. In truth, even I don't know much about the existence of the Yin Shang dynasty." "The danger in the Yin ruins refers to the mechanisms and formations?" Yi Chen asked again. "The mechanisms and formations are only one of them." Daoist Beiyan's expression was slightly serious as he said, "Only a portion of the ruins have been unsealed at the moment. These ruins occupy less than a third of the ruins, and they are all at the periphery of the ruins. There are the traps and formations of the Tomb Master, and even the ferocious creatures that the Tomb Master turned into after his death. Yi Chen nodded secretly when he heard that. Taoist Bai Yin continued, secondly, there are the poisons and curses scattered throughout the ruins. These poisons and curses can kill ordinary nascent soul cultivators upon contact, but the most powerful ones are the native living beings of the ruins, such as demonic beasts. There are native living beings in the dark ruins? Yi Chen could not help but take another look at him. That's right. Taoist Bai Yin took a deep breath in and said, for example, the mermaids and the ancient witch tribes have existed for an extremely long time and rarely appear in human history. However, they cannot be underestimated. There were once soul formation powerhouses from foreign sects who died in their hand. In other words, there are also existences comparable to soul formation among these native living beings? Yi Chen's eyes flashed imperceptibly as he said, if that's the case, why haven't I seen these native living beings escape to the outside world? Because they can't walk out of the dark ruins. Taoist Bai Yin looked at him in admiration and said, we once secretly captured a merman and prepared to bring him out for the higher-ups to study. However, we didn't expect that as soon as that person left the dark ruins tunnel, that merman instantly turned into a pool of blood. At this point, he added, in reality, it's not just the mermen. All the living beings in the dark ruins can't leave the dark ruins. Only magic treasures, cultivation methods, and inheritances can be brought out. Looks like the dark ruins are indeed mysterious. Yi Chen nodded and said as his eyes flickered, but that's good too. At least there won't be any living beings in the dark ruins attacking the human world. That's the only thing we can be at ease about. Taoist Bai Yin said, currently there are entrances to the dark ruins all over the world. Various countries have also sent powerhouses to explore. Apart from that, there are also powerhouses from foreign sects and foreign tribes. Foreigners are also coveting China's things. Yi Chen's gaze turned slightly cold. Taoist Bai Yin seemed to have guessed his displeasure and sighed softly. Currently, we humans are caught between the foreign sects and many foreign tribes. We are all targets of both parties, and their goal is to join forces to obtain benefits in the dark ruins. He seemed to have thought of something and said, in the dark ruins, various countries have formed alliances and many small groups. It's very complicated, and earth-shattering battles break out from time to time. Yi Chen thought about it and said, you said that the foreign sects are looking for the gate of Xianpin? That's right. Taoist Bai Yin nodded slightly. It's said that there's a gate that leads to immortality in the dark ruins. This gate is known as the Gate of Xianpin, and it's also a supreme treasure created by the ancient Heavenly Court. After the ancient Heavenly Court disappeared, this treasure fell into the dark ruins. At this point, he could not help but sigh faintly. Unfortunately, this is only a rumor. Even so, it still caused countless powerhouses from Earth, foreign sects, and foreign tribes to die. Perhaps the so-called Gate of Xianpin doesn't exist at all. Yi Chen guessed, to be precise, this is a scam. It's a scam to bury the cultivators of the foreign sections. That's why Earth is called the Celestial Burial Planet. Just as Taoist Bai Yin was about to speak, he saw Qin Xiaotian, who was dressed in a golden mask, walk in. The latter whispered a few words into the former's ear. Taoist Bai Yin's expression changed slightly after hearing that. Then, he looked at Yi Chen and said while laughing, Fellow Yi, your close friends and disciples are really good at doing things. Chapter 14:14. Seeing the confusion on Yi Chen's face, Qin Xiaotian, who was standing aside, glanced at Taoist Bai Yin and told him everything that happened. Yi Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry after hearing that. It turned out that Luo Tianyao, Song Chia, and the other generals of the four camps had led their troops back from the front line to protect him. The result was that the foreign army from all four directions took the opportunity to invade. After receiving the news that Yi Chen was released, Luo Tianya and the rest launched a counterattack again. In less than 2 hours, they pushed the front line back to its original place. The only exception was that the commander in charge of guarding the south, Xiong Yukai, had suffered a defeat. Not only did he lose his troops, he almost lost his life. I owe them a favor this time. As Yi Chen smiled lightly, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Daoist Beiyan and said, I heard that someone did something to Luo Tianya and my disciple, Song Chia? The atmosphere in the room instantly turned cold. Daoist Beiyan's expression changed slightly before he sighed. That's true. The 3 of them, including Ning Yutian and the rest, all have 12 shackles in their bodies. At this point, his face was extremely livid. Not only did these 12 shackles bind them to the battlefront, they also prevented them from advancing from nascent soul stage. Otherwise, some of them might have already stepped into soul formation stage. Do you know who did it? Yi Chen said coldly. I'm not sure. Qin Xiaotian took over the topic and said, We've used countless resources, but we can't find out who did it. The only thing we know is that it's suspected to be a human force, and they're anti-human. They desire destruction and war. This force is very strange. Daoist Beiyan added, as long as it's beneficial to Earth, they will oppose it. Moreover, they're very good at brainwashing. They're crazy about developing humans. Some brainwashed people even dare to pull grenades in crowded places without fear of death. He added, We've captured many people, but these people don't know the situation of this force, much less their internal members and headquarters. Interesting, Yi Chen grinned, revealing his white teeth. I'll take care of Luo Tianya's physical condition. I hope the mastermind behind this will never fall into my hands. Otherwise, as he thought of this, he turned to look at Daoist Beiyan. Right. Do you know the whereabouts of my brother, Yang Tian? Ever since he returned to Earth, he knew nothing about Yang Tian. He did not learn anything even from Yi Wen and the rest. However, based on Yi Chen's understanding of Yang Tian, he did not believe that Yang Tian would die so easily. Although Second Master Yang was brave at times, one would be wrong to think that he was brainless. After all, Second Brother Yang had been with Yellow Spring Patriarch for a while. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, Daoist Beiyan and Qin Xiaotian could not help but look at each other. Subsequently, they could not help but laugh out loud. You guys know about it? Yi Chen's eyes lit up with joy. Qin Xiaotian looked at him and shook his head with a smile. How should I put it? Yang Tian's situation is a little complicated. Not only did he not die, but he also had a unique encounter. This kid has become someone else's son-in-law. Daoist Dark North didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. And he's also the son-in-law of the merfolk. He's currently enjoying life with them. What? Yi Chen was stunned at that moment. He almost blurted out by instinct that Yang Tian was going to learn from Su Xian. One called him a snake while the other called him a merman. That's why I told you that Yang Tian's situation is a little complicated. Qin Xiaotian could not help but say, when Yin Su first appeared, Yang Tian and I entered Yin Su together. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, Yang Tian and I fell into the martial god's tomb. Apart from the martial god's dried corpse, there was also a merfolk lady suppressed in the tomb. He took a deep breath in and said, in the end, Yang Tian insisted on pointing at her and talking about the differences between merfolk ladies and human ladies. In the end, he accidentally triggered a mechanism and released her. Then, he was taken away by the merfolk lady. That merfolk lady is very powerful. Daoist Beiyan said with a grim expression, I'm afraid she's no weaker than void training. Just when we were discussing how to save Yang Tian, someone from the merfolk came to tell us that Yang Tian is now the merfolk's new son-in-law. This brat. Yi Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry after understanding what had happened, so he's hiding in a gentle nest to enjoy his life. I was worried about him for nothing. However, it seems like I have to make a trip to Yin Su. At that moment, Taoist Beiyan suddenly took out a purple item that looked like a jade slit ring and passed it to Yi Chen. This is a product from the Yin ruins. It's called the Yin ruins jade. You can study it if you're interested. Yi Chen took the purple item and took a look. At that moment, something in his body suddenly trembled violently. However, it was this trembling that stirred up intense waves under Yi Chen's calm gaze. The immortal drift bottle had moved. Ever since he descended to Earth from the immortal world, the immortal drift bottle had moved a few times. The first few times were because of the two seeds. However, it had moved because of this purple jade ring. Moreover, it was even more intense than before. There was a terrifying suction force that seemed to want to devour the purple jade ring. If Yi Chen had not gripped the purple jade slit with great force, the former might have been absorbed instantly. An hour later, Yi Chen left the Sihyuan and entered a hotel alone. He then set up a formation. He took a deep breath in and thought about it. In an instant, a dark green bottle appeared in his hand. The bottle was as clear as jade and about the size of a baby's palm. Its entire body was engraved with birds, beasts, insects, and fish. It did not even have a lid. It was Yi Chen's greatest secret, the immortal drift bottle. Boom! Before Yi Chen could react, an extremely terrifying suction force came the moment the immortal drift bottle appeared. Subsequently, it devoured the purple jade slit ring forcefully. Did something happen to the immortal drift bottle because of the item in Yin Su? Yi Chen stared at the immortal drift bottle before him with that thought in mind. After the immortal drift bottle absorbed the purple jade ring, it suddenly shook violently. Then, the birds, beasts, insects, and fish on it turned into a few green leaves. Although the leaves seemed to be carved, they were lifelike. Apart from that, there were no other changes to the bottle. Suddenly, a layer of golden mist seeped out from the mouth of the bottle. It was like a golden rainbow refracted by sunlight on the clouds. As soon as Yi Chen sucked in a wisp of golden mist, he immediately felt the blood and energy that was gradually flowing out of his body slow down. He could not help but take 2 more breaths. After he devoured all of the golden mist, he immediately felt a trace of blood and energy increase in his body. He even felt that he did not feel as uncomfortable as before. What's this? Yi Chen looked at the immortal drift bottle quietly. Even though he was extremely calm, he could not help but twitch hard at that moment. P.S. I can only write 2 chapters today. Brothers, I've been running around for the past 2 days. I can't help it. I'll update normally later. I'll try my best to speed up the pace. End of this chapter. Chapter 14-15. After the immortal drift bottle mutated, the golden mist that seeped out can heal my injuries? In the quiet room, Yi Chen's eyes were trembling as he looked at the immortal drift bottle. Even though there was very little golden mist like before, he could still sense the changes in his body. As soon as this thought appeared, he almost could not believe it. After losing 3 drops of heart blood, the hematopoietic function in his body had completely collapsed, and his vital energy and blood were decreasing day by day. Unless he had an immortal pill or miraculous medicine, there was no way to reverse this situation. However, there was hope in the immortal drift bottle now. It's a pity that there's too little golden mist. He could not help but rub his chin and say, the reason why the immortal drift bottle mutated was because of the jade ring that Taoist Beiyan gave me. And that jade ring came from Yin Su. Yi Chen's eyes flickered as he thought to this point. Subsequently, his pupils constricted violently. I obtained the immortal drift bottle from Earth. Could it be related to Yin Su? To be precise, the immortal drift bottle also came from Yin Su? If I can find the jade ring that Taoist Beiyan has, maybe I can recover my body, Yi Futian muttered. Yi Chen then thought of Su Yuhan. I wonder if that golden mist is useful to Yuhan. In an instant, countless thoughts appeared in his mind. Yi Chen secretly took a deep breath in and said, looks like Yin Su isn't as simple as I thought. I have to go and investigate. After leaving the hotel, Yi Chen returned to the courtyard house and asked Daoist Beiyan about the jade ring. However, to his disappointment, Daoist Beiyan called the jade ring the Yin-Su jade. Such an item was extremely rare even in Yin-Su, and the few that were left were divided among the various forces. However, before he left, Daoist Beiyan told him that something like the Yin-Su jade probably still existed in the depths of Yin-Su. Moreover, it seemed like there were quite a lot of them. This strengthened Yi Chen's determination to go to Yin-Su. However, according to Daoist Beiyan, although Yin-Su was on Earth, it was independent from the human world. There were very few entrances that were open. They were all occupied by various countries on Earth, foreign sects, and many foreign tribes. Among them, there were a total of 5 passageway entrances owned by China. 3 of them were unstable and were still being reinforced. Although the remaining 2 could be used, there was a fixed time limit for each activation, and each activation required a lot of resources and manpower. The earliest it would open to the public was 3 days from now. During this period of time, no one would be able to enter or leave, not even Daoist Dark North. Yi Chen could only give up as he thought to this point. After leaving the courtyard house, he glanced at the deserted street. He planned to go home so that Su Yuhan and his parents could be at ease. After that, he would remove the 12 shackles in Luo Tianya and the rest. He did not use any magic power to fly. Instead, he concealed his presence and slowly walked on the deserted street. He lowered his head and looked at the token in his hand. The words "Director of the Extraterritorial Adjudication Division" were written on it. This medallion had been given to him by Daoist Dark North on behalf of his superiors. Just by looking at the large words on the token, one could tell that it was for him to take charge of the Extraterritorial Judicial Department. From this, one could also see that the person in the Imperial City thought highly of him. As for the original director of the Extraterritorial Judicial Department, he must have been removed from his position because of this matter. Yi Chen did not care about that at all. Initially, he was unwilling to accept the medallion. However, he thought about it later on. Instead of handing it to an unreliable person to lick the foreign sects and foreign tribes, he might as well take charge of it himself. He walked slowly on the street. Just as he was deep in thought, a sanitation worker pushed a garbage cart over. The sanitation worker seemed to be a man. He was wearing a mask and had his head lowered. However, a bloodthirsty gleam flashed through his eyes when he passed by Yi Chen. Almost in the blink of an eye, he suddenly bit off his tongue. Subsequently, he pounced at Yi Chen like a human bomb. His speed was extremely fast. Coupled with the fact that the two of them were less than a step away, even a nascent soul cultivator would hesitate in such a situation. However, just as the former was about to pounce on Yi Chen, he suddenly realized that the space around him seemed to have frozen. He could not even move his body. Interesting, Yi Chen seemed to be looking at that scene mockingly. Subsequently, he stretched his hand out and grabbed the man. He said in surprise, "A human bomb? Moreover, you've added a thunderstorm stone to form an extremely lethal formation. If it explodes, even a nascent soul cultivator will die. You're willing to pay a high price to kill me." Looking at the terrified sanitation worker, Yi Chen raised his palm and pressed it hard on his head. He performed the soul-searching tactic. A few seconds later, he threw the former onto the ground heavily. The latter fell limply to the ground, drooling and smiling foolishly as if he had gone mad. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's expression kept changing. The reason being through the soul-searching, the former was just an ordinary sanitation worker in the capital's third ring road. He did not have any memory of why he wanted to assassinate Yi Chen. Could it be that someone has controlled his mind? Yi Chen could not help but frown as he thought to this point. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At that moment, a few black shadows suddenly flew over from afar. They appeared before Yi Chen like ghosts. Their movements were well trained and they were dressed in the same uniform. "Greetings, Director General Yi." Before Yi Chen could speak, the leading hunk clasped his fists at Yi Chen first. He then looked at the sanitation worker on the ground who was dumbstruck and said to Yi Chen, "Are you all right, Director General Yi?" "I'm fine." Yi Chen shook his head and raised his brows. "Who are you guys?" "We're members of the Special Dragon Group." The hunk straightened his body by instinct and bowed at Yi Chen. He introduced himself. "I'm Qing Jun, the leader of the second operation team under the Dragon Group." "Oh, you guys are from the Dragon Group." Yi Chen came to a realization. He then looked at the few people behind him and said, "But why are you guys here?" "You have no idea, Director General Yi." Qing Jun smiled apologetically. He stretched his arm and pointed at the sanitation worker on the ground and the dumbstruck worker. "We're here to track him down. I can't believe that his target is Director General Yi." After saying that, the few Dragon Group members, including him, looked at Yi Chen with utmost respect again. The reason being, from the sanitation worker's sudden attack to the moment he was captured, everything happened in the blink of an eye. Even they were helpless when faced with such a situation. Never had they thought that Yi Chen would capture him with a raise of his arm. "For him?" Yi Chen squinted slightly. "Yes, Director General Yi." Qing Jun seemed to have guessed Yi Chen's confusion, so he explained immediately, "We've been watching a mysterious organization recently. The organization is extremely terrifying and they're good at assassinating people. They'll do anything they want." Chapter 14-16. Qing Jun could not help but glance at the sanitation worker on the ground as he spoke to this point. "We've been watching this man for a few days. Just when we were going to capture him, we saw him attack Director Yi." His expression turned extremely terrible after saying that. At that moment, they were extremely glad that no safety accident had happened. After all, Yi Chen was the director of the Foreign Adjudication Department now. It was said that he did not have much time left. If anything happened to him, they would be responsible. "Is this man a member of that extremist organization?" Yi Chen's eyes flashed indiscernibly. Most of the doubts he had were gone. "But why didn't I get any information about the extremist organization from him?" Daoist Beiyan had told him about the organization before. Never had he thought that they would target him now. "I have no idea." Qing Jun shook his head and looked at the sanitation worker on the ground. He said, "This man isn't a member of the extremist organization. At most, he's a pitiful person whose mind has been controlled." He could not help but scoff as he spoke to this point. "I'm afraid that the real members of the extremist organization are watching us from somewhere." Yi Chen said, "How much do you guys know about this extremist organization?" His principle was that he would not offend anyone if they did not offend him. Since the extremist organization had begun to assassinate him, how could he sit still? "Not much." Qing Jun shook his head and forced a smile. "They're extremely good at hiding. They're no different from ordinary people. Moreover, we're guessing that their upper echelon seems to have cultivated some kind of brainwashing method that makes countless members loyal to them. They might even sacrifice their lives without hesitation." A lady behind him bit her lip and said angrily, "They're difficult to deal with. They'll self-destruct as soon as they find out that they're exposed." "Our Dragon Group has lost over 10 lives," Yi Chen secretly frowned. Subsequently, he covered the area with his divine consciousness. His immense spiritual energy was like a tide that spread out with him as the center. It passed through the buildings and every guest house. 10,000 feet 20,000 feet 50,000 feet 10,000 feet. At that moment, countless complicated information was sensed by Yi Chen. He quickly eliminated the useless information and selected what he wanted. Not long after, he suddenly opened his eyes. As he looked towards the southeast, there was a flash of lightning in his eyes. "Have I finally found you?" He took a step forward and instantly disappeared on the spot. By the time Qing Jun and the others reacted, he was long gone. Almost at that instant, in a 5-star luxury hotel more than 200 miles away from the capital, Ant 58 has failed. On the top floor, a sinister man with high cheekbones was looking at an electronic watch in his hand with a gloomy expression. It was not an ordinary electronic watch, but a precision instrument that looked like a radar. There were many red dots jumping on it. The malicious-looking man stared at the red dot that had just disappeared as he cursed. "Damn it, didn't the higher-ups say that mad Southern Ye doesn't have much time left?" How could he have survived Ant number 58's self-destruction unscathed? "No, I can't stay here any longer. If I stay any longer, I'm afraid I'll attract mad Southern Ye here." After the malicious-looking man cursed under his breath, he instantly jumped down from the 58-story building and swung to the skyscraper opposite him like a squirrel gecko. He sneered and touched the electronic watch in his hand. Meanwhile, in the building behind him, a room on one of the floors suddenly burst into flames, completely destroying all traces and auras within. After seeing that, the malicious-looking man grinned. Endless madness and extremity flashed through his eyes. Just as he turned around and was about to leave in the chaos, a skinny figure suddenly came from afar. It was as if he had teleported hundreds of meters in a breath. The malicious-looking man's body suddenly froze, and he did not dare to move. Mad Southern Yi. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect Yi Chen to travel hundreds of kilometers within a few breaths. Moreover, he had successfully found him. "Do you want me to do it, or are you going to tell me yourself?" Yi Chen looked at the former calmly. He walked toward him while speaking with his hands behind his back. He seemed to be taking a stroll in the park. The malicious-looking man's pupils constricted violently. Then, he sneered and said, "Mad Southern Yi, do you think you can defeat me? Otherwise?" Yi Chen forced a smile. Then, he looked around and said softly, "Those hiding in the dark, why aren't you coming out? Do you need me to drag you out one by one?" As his voice faded, the malicious-looking man's expression immediately changed. Immediately after, the surrounding space shook, and 6 black figures stepped out of it. They were 5 early-stage God Transformation Stage cultivators and 1 late-stage God Transformation Stage cultivator. As soon as the 6 of them appeared, they immediately sealed the space within a radius of 3,000 meters. Then, they formed a strange formation to surround Yi Chen tightly. From afar, it looked like a hexagram. The malicious-looking man's face lit up when he saw the 6 of them. "Greetings, Old Feng, Old Tong, and the rest of you. Please forgive me for my incompetence." The leading old man held a walking stick and glanced at Yi Chen coldly. Then, he chuckled. "What did you do wrong? You've done a great service by luring mad Southern Yi here." His hawk-like gaze could not help but land on Yi Chen as he spoke to this point. "Honorable mad Southern Yi, let me introduce ourselves. The 6 of us are the 6 guardians of the holy cult. I'm called Elder Feng. Is the holy cult or an evil cult?" Yi Chen seemed to be playing tricks. "That's just the wrong impression outsiders have of our holy cult." Elder Feng was not angry at all. Instead, he said with a faint smile, "The world is ugly, and human nature is not ancient. Although our holy cult is a rebel, our goal is to rebuild the order of the world." He could not help but look at Yi Chen with a burning gaze as he spoke to this point. "Our holy cult master and saintess are talented and thirsty for talent. Therefore, they specially sent the 6 of us to invite Mr. Yi to join our holy cult." "That's right." Another Old Tong's smile was extremely sincere. "As a condition, the holy cult master promises that as long as Mr. Yi is willing to agree, he will treat you as the vice-sect master of the holy cult. After our holy cult controls the world, we will share the world with you." Yi Chen could not help but laugh when he heard that. "If I don't agree, are you guys going to attack and kill me here?" "That depends on whether Mr. Yi is sensible." Elder Feng's expression was slightly cold. "Our holy cult has countless resources, and we even have a place in the Yin ruins. Mr. Yi, you'll definitely benefit from working with us. The outside world says that Mr. Yi doesn't have much time left. If you join our holy cult, we might be able to extend your life or even teach you the art of immortality. End of this chapter. Chapter 14-17. Yi Chen was shocked to hear that. Your cult still has a seat in Yinsu? Before this, Taoist Beiyan had told him that the place where Yinsu had been unsealed had been occupied by various countries, foreign sects, and foreign tribes. Yet, a mere cult had a seat in Yinsu. There were only two explanations. Either Elder Feng and the rest were lying, or there were people from the cult hiding among the people guarding Yinsu. Of course. Elder Feng smiled proudly. Our cult has disciples all over the world. Yinsu is so important that we naturally won't miss it. Mad Southern Yi, don't even think about stalling for time. Old Tong threatened, we saw that your vital energy and blood were dried up. Even if you still have some strength left, how can you resist the six of us? That's right. Elder Feng looked at Yi Chen firmly. If you don't agree today, not only will you die here, even the people related to you will be no exception. All right, I agree. To everyone's surprise, Yi Chen nodded directly and said while smiling, let's go. Bring me to your sect master now. I want to discuss the plan to rule Earth with him personally. It's not that easy to join the cult. Elder Feng was stunned at first, then he sneered. What if you're forced by the situation to pretend to join the cult? Unless you can make a pledge for us. What pledge? Yi Chen frowned. It's simple. Elder Tong grinned. You need to kill Taoist Beiyan for us. He's the person in charge of guarding the Yin ruins. If you kill him, China's situation in the Yin ruins will definitely change drastically. Forget it. Since that's the case, you guys can go to hell first. I'll send your cult master down to reunite with you guys later. Yi Chen shook his head lightly and took a step forward. An aura that contained monstrous, killing intent exploded. 6 pieces of trash, come and accept your death. Within the time it took for an incense stick to burn, there was a bloody mist on the ground. Yi Chen held Elder Feng's neck with one hand and performed the soul-searching tactic with the other. A moment later, a golden flame bloomed in his hand and burned Elder Feng's bones to ashes. Only then did his expression change. After searching their souls one by one, Yi Chen had a rough understanding of the Saint sect's background. The true name of their so-called Saint sect was the Heavenless sect. As the name suggested, they were lawless and did not believe in heaven. It was indeed as Elder Feng had said. The so-called Skyless sect had infiltrated many countries on Earth. It had even infiltrated sects from other regions and various alien races. There seemed to be many late-stage soul formation cultivators like Elder Feng in the sect, but most of them were either driven to a dead end or selfish people. Even Elder Feng and the others had never seen the most mysterious person in the Heavenless sect, the sacred sect leader, nor did they know how powerful he was. However, since he could make a group of divine transformation stage powerhouses submit to him willingly, he must be at least at the perfected divine transformation stage or even the void training stage. Void training stage? Yi Chen's eyes flashed imperceptibly as he thought to this point. If there really are void refinement or even soul-splitting powerhouses among these foreign sects, things will be troublesome. Regardless of whether it was the spirit-severing stage or the void-tempering stage, they were far superior to the deity transformation stage. Even in the cultivation world, they were old monsters who had lived for countless years. Looks like I have to speed up my recovery. Yi Chen's eyes flickered a few times. It's a pity that I didn't find out where the headquarters of the Skyless sect is from Elder Feng and the rest. Otherwise, I could go to them and get rid of this tumor completely. That afternoon, the entire Chinese Special Strategy Organization was mobilized to purge the cult branches that were hidden in various parts of China. Yi Chen was the one who told Taoist Beiyan the news. He did not participate in the entire process. However, he had been watching secretly. Unfortunately, the other party's powerhouses did not appear, let alone the sacred sect leader. He could only give up and return to Tiannan. On a mysterious island in northern Europe, on the eerie and ferocious ancient altar, there were dozens of figures with powerful auras kneeling on one knee. There was no lack of soul formation powerhouses among these people. However, at that moment, all of them were kneeling respectfully in front of a woman wearing a black scarf. Their expressions were filled with fear. "Good, very good of you." The woman in the black scarf sized up the people below indifferently. Her cold voice without a trace of emotion was heard slowly. "As soon as the sacred sect leader left, you lost dozens of branches, holy maiden." A blind old man below trembled violently before he said in fear, "We've found out that all of this was revealed by mad Southern Yi. Otherwise, our sacred sect wouldn't have lost dozens of branches in China." "That's right." Another person's expression was incomparably resentful. "Holy maiden, mad Southern Yi is arrogant and unruly. In my opinion, we should cut him out while his days are numbered. Otherwise, he might become a huge threat to our sacred sect." "Mad Southern Yi?" The woman in the black scarf suddenly chuckled when she heard that. Her laughter was like a soul-stealing voice. "This person is an old acquaintance of mine. I know how to deal with him. From now on, everyone will enter a state of hibernation and wait for the sacred sect leader to return from Su." "Yes, sir." In an instant, dozens of people stood up and answered. The woman in the black scarf looked into the sky, and a strange arc flashed across her beautiful eyes that were hidden under the scarf. "Yi Chun, we haven't seen each other for 17 years. I'm afraid you never imagined that I, who used to look up to you, would grow to an unimaginable level." Tianan, Lin City. Yi Chun flew over and eventually landed in Nine Dragons Bay. As soon as he landed, he saw Meng Meng playing with Qianqian in the courtyard with her brother on her back. "Daddy, big brother." The two little girls pounced on him as soon as they saw him. Even Yi Chen's second son, Yi Ming, who was on Meng Meng's back, waved his arms as if he was greeting him. Yi Ming had been born for less than a month. Although he could not speak yet, he was very quiet. He was so quiet that he did not seem like a child of his age. He did not cry or make a fuss. From time to time, he would look at everyone with his big black eyes as if he could understand them. "You guys have fun. Daddy is going to see Mommy." Yi Chen walked into the villa after playing with the two little girls for a while. However, his expression turned grim as soon as he entered. "Sister, why didn't you inform me that you're getting married? I'm your sister after all." "That's not nice, we've looked for you, but we didn't hear from you." At that moment, in the living room, Su Yuhan was chatting happily with a woman who was dressed fashionably. The woman was wearing a beige office lady suit and a pair of black-rimmed glasses. She had a refined aura, giving off the vibe of a successful businesswoman. Su Yuhan lifted her head by instinct as Yi Chen walked in. She could not help but welcome him in surprise. "Yi Chen, you're back?" Yi Chen picked her up tightly. He pecked her red lips despite her resistance and teased, "You're still Yi Chen? Shouldn't you call me hubby?" Su Yuhan's ears turned hot. She could not help but raise her fist and hit him. She then called out softly in embarrassment, "Hubby." The woman at the side could not help but giggle. "Brother-in-law, if you guys want to be intimate, can you not do it in front of me? It's too tiresome." Yi Chen let go of Su Yuhan and looked at her calmly. "Why are you here?" End of this chapter. Chapter 14-18. Look at what you're saying. The uniformed lady rolled her eyes at Yi Chen after hearing what he said. "How could I not come to my sister's wedding? I was just delayed by something, so I'm late." As she said that, she looked at Yi Chen from head to toe with her beautiful eyes. "Brother-in-law, you're not a good bridegroom. You didn't come home after going through the procedure with my sister?" She sounded like she was blaming him, but she was well-mannered. No one would feel disgusted at all, and she could even cater to Su Yuhan. Yi Chen said with a cold smile, "It's not your place to tell me what to do." Although he said that, his eyes were shining when he looked at the lady. The lady was Su Yuhan's younger sister, Su Yuwei. She had changed. After 17 years, Su Yuwei had changed. It would not be an exaggeration to describe her as earth-shattering. Before Yi Chen went to the ancient desolate realm, he was rather disgusted with Su Yue because she was unruly and willful. She spoke without thinking. Even though the Su family was destroyed, she did not change her bad habit. However, now that they met again, Su Yue had changed too much. Whether it was her temperament, her dressing, or even her personality, she had undergone a complete transformation. Yi Chen, sensing Yi Chen's attitude toward Su Yuhan could not help but tug his hand. She begged, Wei, it's rare for you to visit me. It's all right, sister. Su Yue was not angry at all. Instead, she chuckled and said, I was immature in the past. It's normal for brother-in-law not to like me. However, I'll think of a way to change his attitude toward me. Seems like you've really grown up. Su Yuhan looked at her in relief and happiness. Her expression was extremely complicated. If it were the Su Yue from the past, she would have retorted to Yi Chen's words earlier. You two sisters can talk. Yi Chen calmed down and went to the second floor of the villa. After spending a long time with his parents, he had been covering the first floor with his divine consciousness. Therefore, he heard the rest of the conversation between the sisters. They were talking about Su Yue's experiences throughout the years. It was only then that Yi Chen found out that Su Yue had also embarked on the path of cultivation when he and Su Yuhan were not on Earth. She had even established a company. In the short span of 17 years, she had also stepped into the late stage of the Golden Core realm. This kind of aptitude could be considered not bad in the secular world. After listening to the gist of it, Yi Chen retracted his divine consciousness. He then realized that the Patriarch of Hell and Yi Wushuang had created a separate space battlefield in Nine Dragons Bay. They were sparring with each other. Yi Chen could not help but smile when he saw that. Subsequently, he appeared next to the two of them with a flash. Sword intent filled the sky, and true essence vibrated. The Patriarch of Hell dispersed his true origin and looked at Yi Wushuang, who was across him in admiration. Your understanding of Sword Dao is the most powerful person I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen it before. You're not bad yourself. The density of your true essence is comparable to a mid-soul formation cultivator. Yi Wushuang's white robe was spotless. He looked at him calmly and said, If I suppress my cultivation base to fight you, we won't be able to decide the winner within 100 rounds. Haha, that's enough. The two of you don't have to flatter each other. Yi Chen appeared next to the two of them and interrupted them with a smile. He then sized them up and said, It's been a few days since we last met, and your cultivation bases have improved. Looks like you haven't wasted yourselves. Fellow Yi. The Patriarch of Hell was instantly energized. You're finally back. I've been holding it in for the past few days. I'll leave the rest to you. He was about to leave after saying that. Yi Chen stopped him immediately and said in between tears and laughter, Patriarch, I heard many secrets in the capital this time. I believe you'll be interested. He slowly told them the rumors about Yin Su. After hearing that, the Patriarch of Hell and Yi Wushuang's expressions froze. The ancient God-conferment war? The heavenly court existed in the past? The opportunity to become an immortal? The Patriarch of Hell's eyes shone brightly. Combined with the ranking we saw on Mars, it seems like Earth does have a big secret. I'm interested. The Yin Su passage will open in 3 days. Yi Chen nodded and said, Therefore, what I mean is that you don't have to run around for the next 3 days. Help me protect the Yi family. I'm going to the east and the north. That's good too. The Patriarch of Hell could only nod. Yi Wushuang was worried about Yi Chen. He could not help but look at him and say, Brother, I'll go with you. Just when Yi Chen was about to speak, he suddenly looked out of the Nine Dragons Bay. There was a black rainbow shooting toward them from that direction. In an instant, Xiao Hei's figure was revealed. However, Xiao Hei was injured at that moment. It was obvious that he had experienced some great battle. Master! Xiao Hei fell heavily to the ground and spat blood. Yi Chen reached out and helped him up. His expression was extremely grim. What happened? Xiao He was a beginner stage god transformation stage demonic beast. Its strength was not something an ordinary beginner stage god transformation stage cultivator could compare to. Even a mid-stage god transformation stage cultivator would not be able to beat it to such a state. Even the Patriarch of Hell and Yi Wushuang's eyes turned cold. Xiao He said with a pale face, "Master, the person who injured me is called the Blood Sun, Son of God. He's already at the late-stage god transformation stage at such a young age. He seems to be someone from the ethereal palace who descended from the outer realm, and what?" Yi Chen's eyes were cold. The Patriarch of Hell's expression changed. He did not expect that with the death of the ethereal palace's patriarch, the ethereal palace would summon a powerhouse from the mother planet of the outer realm to Earth. Xiao He paused for a moment and said, "The people accompanying this person seem to be the godsons and saintesses of the Valley Shadegate, the Ascension Immortal sect, and a few other sects from the outer realm." At this point, a trace of blood immediately flowed out of his mouth. Moreover, this person said that within 3 days, Master must kowtow and surrender. Otherwise, he will wash Lin City in blood and kill us all. Boom. As soon as he said that, he felt the temperature between heaven and earth suddenly drop. Yi Chen's eyes were cold. Ethereal Palace, Valley Shadegate, you guys are really lingering. Whoosh. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly flew over from the horizon. When the figure landed, a man wearing a golden mask immediately appeared. It was Qin Xiaotian. Qin Xiaotian walked to Yi Chen as soon as he landed and said in a deep voice, "Brother Yi, the situation is bad. Just now, the 8 sects from the outer realm, including the Ethereal Palace, joined forces to say that you must give an explanation for the death of the Ethereal Patriarch. Otherwise they'll wash Lin City in blood, right?" Yi Chen scoffed. Qin Xiaotian was stunned at first. Then, he noticed Xiao He and said, "That's right. The 8 sects from the outer realm are even threatening China to hand you over. Otherwise, they wouldn't mind tearing up the agreement and starting a war with us again." End of this chapter. Chapter 14-19. What do the higher-ups mean? Yi Chen's eyes flickered. Qin Xiaotian could not help but sigh softly. Although China has developed for 17 years, the top powerhouses can't compare to the 8 foreign sections. We can't afford to fight at all, therefore, the higher-ups want you to find a place to hide these days. It's best if you hide in Yin ruins after 3 days. He looked at Yi Chen and said, "As for Lin City, as long as you don't show yourself, the 8 sects won't fall out with China." At this point, Qin Xiaotian smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Yi, the higher-ups have always been cautious. I hope you won't hold a grudge." "Who are the 8 major sects?" Yi Chen interrupted him. "What kind of powerhouses are there?" "They are Ethereal Palace, Guin Gate, Ascension Immortal Sect, Panwu Heavenly Palace, Wanbao Temple, Taizhen Sect, Jiaochuan Sect, and Huntian Sect." Qin Xiaotian said word by word. Apart from the Guin Gate, the 8 major sects all have late-stage god transformation cultivators. Among them, Ethereal Palace has a god son who descended from the mother planet. He shook his head and said, "This time, the 8 major sects have joined forces to ask you to kneel to them in public and commit suicide. Otherwise, they will slaughter everyone related to you. I believe they are trying to establish their might." As soon as he said that, the Patriarch of Hell could not help but narrow his eyes. Clearly, he was surprised by the strength of the 8 foreign sections. There were 7 late-stage god transformation cultivators alone, and there were probably countless mid-stage and early-stage god transformation cultivators. When they joined forces, their lineup was enough to shake a country. "Establishing my might?" Yi Chen could not help but smile as if he was mocking. "These people think that I don't have much time left, so they want to use me to establish their might, right? Unfortunately, they've underestimated me. Before this, I didn't have an excuse to touch them. Since they dare to take the initiative to cause trouble, it suits me, Yi Chen scoffed. He had killed perfect-stage God transformation cultivators before, let alone late-stage God transformation cultivators. Even though it was because he had lost 3 drops of heart blood, how could anyone bully him? Brother Yi, sensing the meaning behind his words, Qin Xiaoyan's expression could not help but change. He hurriedly said, "No, absolutely not." He did not know about Yi Chen's battle record in the vast purple world, so he thought that Yi Chen's peak strength was at most mastery stage God transformation stage. How could he fight 7 mastery stage God transformation stage powerhouses? Moreover, Yi Chen was clearly not at his peak now. "I've already made up my mind. You don't have to persuade me anymore," Yi Chen said firmly. "That's it. Spread the word on my behalf. Get these old dogs to wash their neck. 3 days later, I'll chop off their heads one by one, flatten their sects, and destroy all orthodoxies." Qin Xiaotian could not help but be moved when he heard that. He subconsciously thought that Yi Chen was crazy. Those were 7 soul formation final stage cultivators. Moreover, no one could guarantee that there weren't even more terrifying existences behind these 8 sects. However, seeing that Yi Chen had made up his mind, he knew that it was useless to persuade him. He could only sigh secretly and leave while shaking his head. After watching them leave, the Patriarch of Hell said with a solemn expression, "Fellow Yi, your body isn't in good condition right now. Are you sure you want to fight them at this time?" "I've found a way to heal my injuries." Yi Chen smiled lightly as his eyes flickered. "Before that, it's enough to destroy the 8 sections. It'll let these guys from the outer realm know that I, Yi, am not to be bullied, and China is not to be bullied." "That's good." Seeing that he was so confident, the Patriarch of Hell could only relax. He grinned and said, "Patriarch, contact Luo Tianya and the North Sea immediately. When the time comes, we'll definitely give the 8 sects a surprise." Following Qin Xiaoyan's departure, an extremely explosive piece of news swept through the entire China and even the world that day. The 8 sects from the outer realm had joined forces to pressure China, forcing Mad Southern Yi to kneel and commit suicide. However, not only did Mad Southern Yi not compromise, he even said that he would destroy the 8 sects from the outer realm in 3 days and kill everything. Once the news spread, Lin City was the first to be shaken, followed by the entire world. Various countries were shocked, and countless forces were even more shocked. One had to know that those were the 8 immortal sects from the outer realm. If they joined forces, they could destroy any large country. However, Mad Southern Yi was trying to fight them by himself. Crazy, Mad Southern Yi is crazy. That's right. The 8 sects from the outer realm are so powerful, but Mad Southern Yi is still weak. Moreover, rumor has it that he's severely injured and is not far from death. How can he fight the 8 sects from the outer realm head-on? Many people were shocked by Yi Chen's actions. Mad Southern Yi is too arrogant. Does he really think that the current Earth is still the Earth from 17 years ago? That's right, I want to see how Mad Southern Yi dies. If I were Mad Southern Yi, I would hide and find a place to recover from my injuries. At the same time, I would raise my cultivation base instead of fighting the 8 sects from the outer realm with my heavily injured body. Someone sneered and gloated. What a pity! When Mad Southern Yi returned, I still had hope for him. I thought that he could return to his peak and save Earth from the abyss of suffering. Many people could not help but shake their heads and feel extremely regretful. However, he's about to die now. "Mr. Yi, why are you so impulsive? The legend is finally coming to an end," a famous newspaper in China reported crazily. In America, a local magazine on Wall Street used Yi Chen's picture as the cover and added an extremely eye-catching title. "This is an arrogant and stupid Easterner. He will suffer the consequences of his own actions. Mad Southern Yi can die, but don't drag the people of Lin City down with you." Didn't you understand what the 8 sects said? "We don't want to die with you." Countless people living in Lin City cursed crazily. At the same time, they put away their valuables and rushed to leave Lin City, afraid that they would be implicated if they were a step late. In less than a day, the population of Lin City, which had a population of more than 100 million, plummeted to less than 30 million. Most of them were old, weak, sick, and disabled. At the same time, the Heavenless Sect's headquarters received a message from the Saintess: gather the 5 supreme elders and observe the situation. We'll attack when Mad Southern Yi is about to die. This way we can not only win over Mad Southern Ye's loyalty, but we can also defeat the 8 sects and strengthen our sect. Time passed by in a flash. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, when the first ray of sunlight shone on the ground, the entire China instantly became hot. Everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Chen. It was the first time that the powerhouses of Earth had officially fought against the foreign sects in public. Although most people did not think highly of Yi Chen, deep down in their hearts, they were looking forward to Yi Chen creating another legend. End of this chapter. Chapter 1420. Over the past 3 days, it could be said that the entire China and even the entire world had their eyes on Lin City and Yi Chen. In the Chinese cultivation world, many aristocratic families, and even the upper echelons of the government, including the spies and media from various countries, spent 3 torturous days. Technology such as unmanned surveillance drones and satellite surveillance were used in Lin City. However, 9 Dragons Bay had a formation that Yi Chen had modified, preventing these devices from seeing what was happening inside. What they could see was that the entire 9 Dragons Bay was covered in white, as if there was a thick fog that could block all infrared rays and divine consciousness. As expected of the former Earth Number 1, a powerful cultivator tried to pry into the scene of 9 Dragons Bay, but his efforts were in vain. He could not help but sigh. Just his understanding of formations has reached the peak. It's too quiet. 9 Dragons Bay is strangely quiet. This doesn't match Mad Southern Ye's personality. An old man who had witnessed Yi Chen's growth frowned. What are you worried about? Could it be that Mad Southern Yi still has a chance to turn the tables? Countless young people who were paying attention to the situation through the internet scoffed. This time, the 8 foreign immortal sects have joined forces. To the younger generation, they had never seen Yi Chen's glory when he dominated Earth. Therefore, they did not care even though they heard that Yi Chen was extraordinary in the past. This battle concerns the honor of China and the survival of Earth. Many experts of the older generation were deeply worried. They knew very well that if Yi Chen, who was once the Earth Number 1, lost, it would be a heavy blow to countless cultivators on Earth. At that time, the power of the foreign sects would be even more deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. How could the younger generation have the heart to resist? As a part of the Chinese cultivation world, Wudong Mountain cannot miss this battle. On Wudong Mountain, the current nascent Soul Stage sect leader flicked his dust and said with a determined gaze, "Even if we can't help Mad Southern Yi, we have to build momentum for him on the spot so that the foreign sects know that there are still people with iron bones in China. My Dragon Tiger Mountain is no exception, and my Great Snow Mountain." In an instant, Wudong Mountain, Dragon Tiger Mountain, Great Snow Mountain, and other famous mountains, as well as the Baji sect, Xing Yi sect, and many other sects, were all moved. The sect's patriarchs led their disciples south resolutely. The commotion immediately caused a huge storm that shook the heavens and the earth. Oh my God, more than half of the cultivators in the entire Chinese cultivation world are rushing to Lin City. These mysterious existences are all moving for Mad Southern Yi. Countless media outlets reported it in a frenzy. On the internet, many people were sneering. What's the use of having more people? Most of them are at the nascent soul stage. How can they withstand the attacks of the 8 outer domain immortal sects? Above 9 Dragons Bay, in the middle of a huge lake, Yi Chen stood with his arms behind his back. His feet were on the surface of the lake, but there were no ripples at all. It was as if he had merged with heaven and earth, and the entire Nine Dragons Bay. "Sister, what is brother-in-law doing?" Su Yue quietly watched this scene from the shore. A strange look flashed through her beautiful eyes, and she pretended to look at Su Yuhan in surprise. When Su Yuhan's lips moved slightly and she was about to speak, the Patriarch of Hell, who was next to her, said calmly, "Fellow Yi, you're setting up a formation, and it's a super-killing formation." In the Patriarch of Hell's eyes, Yi Chen's divine consciousness covered every inch of Nine Dragons Bay at that moment. All sorts of terrifying seals pierced through every inch of space. It was as if an invisible net had been woven between heaven and earth, covering the entire Nine Dragons Bay. There was a great terror hidden within. Big Dipper Formation, Major Five-Element Sword Formation, Heavenly Wind Silver Rain Formation, Thousand Face Killing Formation, Three Ultimate Een Formation. Fellow Yi, you're so generous. Even though he was already mentally prepared, when the Patriarch saw the invisible formations, he could not help but inwardly suck in a breath of cold air. A total of 81 different killing formations are fused and superimposed, forming a terrifying killing formation. Su Yue's gaze was fixed on Yi Chen. She glanced at the Patriarch of Hell, and said while rolling her eyes, "Patriarch, do you think my brother-in-law can win this time? Kiss me, and I'll tell you." The Patriarch of Hell pretended to look at her lecherously. Su Yue could not help but pout. "No, forget it if you don't want to tell me. Anyway, I believe my brother-in-law can win." A moment later, Yi Chen opened his eyes slowly and stepped onto the shore. Just when he was about to speak, he suddenly looked at the entrance of Nine Dragons Bay. Little Black Mountain said, "Master, there are many older generation people from the Chinese cultivation world outside who want to see you. They said they're here to cheer for you." "Let them in," Yi Chen said. Xiao He nodded and turned around to leave. Soon, dozens of figures walked over slowly. While everyone was surprised by the dense spiritual energy in Nine Dragons Bay, they did not dare to be disrespectful at all. "Greetings, Mr. Yi." Dozens of powerhouses from the older generation of the Chinese cultivation world bowed to Yi Chen at the same time. Everyone's hearts sank when they saw Yi Chen's dispirited expression. Before this, they still had a sliver of hope in their hearts. However, they could not help but despair when they saw Yi Chen now. It seemed like Yi Chen did not have much time left, as the rumors said. "Everyone, please rise." Yi Chen raised his hand and said weakly, "The fact that all of you are here to witness Yi Chen's battle has given me a glimmer of hope for the Chinese cultivation world." After saying that, he could not help but cough. There was blood at the corner of his mouth. It was a shocking sight. "Mr. Yi, give up." The old celestial master of Mount Longhu cried and said, "You don't have much time left. You don't have to sacrifice your remaining time for China." "That's right, Mr. Yi." Another powerhouse from the older generation could not help but feel sad. "You're the hope of the Chinese cultivation world. Nothing must happen to you. Kunlun Mountain has an immortal spiritual herb that might be able to extend your life. I, Yi, appreciate everyone's good intentions." Yi Chen could not stop coughing. "I'm fighting this battle today for no other reason than to let the world know that the cultivators of Earth are not afraid of any foreign immortal sections. Whoever dares to offend Earth will die." Mr. Yi, in an instant, all the powerhouses of the older generation present cried. Almost at that instant, a terrifying explosion suddenly rang out in the sky. It was as if the sky and earth were about to be destroyed. The might was shocking. Everyone subconsciously raised their heads and saw a blood-colored streak of light streaking across the sky outside the Nine Dragons Bay. Everywhere the blood-red ray of light passed, space collapsed, and it was like a ferocious and enormous beast had crossed over from a distant region of the starry sky. And after that blood-red rainbow, another one appeared, then two, then three, then four. At that moment, everyone's scalps went numb. 100. More than 100 blood-colored rainbows shot across the sky. The terrifying pressure shrouded the entire forest city, almost surrounding the Nine Dragons Bay. Chapter 14:21. Looking at those terrifying figures that looked like gods, Lin Fan felt a chill run down his spine. At that moment, everyone in the entire Lin city, the entire Tiannan, the entire China, and even the entire Earth who was watching this scene fell silent. The silence was instantly replaced by endless shock. In order to deal with Yi Chen, the 8 foreign immortal sects had sent 100 almighties this time. The lowest cultivation base was at early stage God transformation stage. Ordinary God transformation stage cultivators were like immortals that were hard to find. However, there were actually 100 of them appearing at the same time. How could this not make everyone's scalps go numb? At that moment, everyone who was watching through the live broadcast and satellite monitoring felt their hearts skip a beat when they saw this scene. Even a small number of Chinese people who had hoped for Yi Chen fell into despair at that moment when they saw such a lineup. How is this possible? The faces of the old celestial master of Mount Longhu and the rest who came twitched violently. They almost let out such a similar roar of disbelief from their trembling throats. 100 God transformation stage cultivators. Even the combined strength of China would not be able to come up with such a lineup. However, they were only here to deal with Yi Chen alone. It's over, it's all over, countless people closed their eyes in despair. You with the surname Yi, you're in big trouble now. Fang Mingda and his grandson outside laughed gloatingly when they saw that. It was as if they could see Yi Chen's miserable fate. In an ordinary high school in Jinling, the spacious classroom in Grade 3 Class 5 was filled with people. The huge projector was currently showing the scene above Nine Dragons Bay. In particular, the appearance of the 100 soul formation stage powerhouses caused the entire classroom to fall into dead silence. Take a good look. This battle is unprecedented in the history of Earth. One is a legend of China, and the other is the 8 foreign immortal sects that have descended on Earth. On the podium, a middle-aged man with a square face said in a deep voice, "Even though many of you have just stepped into the threshold of cultivation, you can still learn a lot from this battle." The dozens of students below did not say a word as they stared at the shocking scene on the huge projector. If Yi Chen were there, he would definitely notice that the man and lady sitting in the last row were Yi Qi and Yang Shui, whom he had met earlier. At that moment, Yang Shui and Yi Qi had complicated expressions on their faces because they realized that the man called Mad Southern Yi was the white-haired young man they saw last time. Teacher Mo, this is a battle without any suspense. What else do you want us to watch? In the quiet classroom, a handsome boy who was dressed in a unique way smiled in disdain. This Mad Southern Yi is dead this time. As soon as he finished speaking, many people immediately agreed. Wen Hao is right. I heard from my dad that Mad Southern Yi has offended the 8 outer region immortal sects this time. What can he do to fight them? In my opinion, this Yi fellow is overestimating himself. Don't say that. I heard that Yi was once the strongest person on Earth. Yi Qi, who was sitting in the last row, suddenly felt an inexplicable pain in his heart when he heard the voices mocking Yi Chen. It was as if the person closest to him was being insulted. He immediately roared, "Shut up!" The boy called Wen Hao glared at him coldly. "Yi Qi, what are you doing?" Even the others could not help but look at Yi Qi. Yi Qi clenched his fists and looked at him with bloodshot eyes. He enunciated word by word, "No. Su. You said, that is, Yi. Uncle, yes, bad words." He did not know why he was so angry, but he did not want Yi Chen to be hurt. "Trash, you dare to threaten me after rebelling?" Wen Hao's expression turned cold. He slammed the table and stood up immediately. He said while grinning coldly, "Yi will definitely die today. I told you, trash. What can you do to me?" Bang! As soon as he said that, a ruler shot over from the podium and knocked Wen Hao to the ground. It was Teacher Mo who had attacked from the podium. Wen Hao covered the ruler that was red and purple on his face and looked at Teacher Mo with a grim expression. "Mo Wenshan, how dare you attack me? Do you know?" Kneel. Teacher Mo unleashed his foundation building cultivation base and suppressed one how to the ground directly, shocking everyone. He looked around at everyone and said in a powerful voice, Mad Southern Yi is a legend of China. He has even contributed to China in the past. He was also the one who promoted the cultivation method. What right do you juniors have to blaspheme him? Teacher Mo looked at the faces and was almost roaring. I've always taught you to remember the righteousness of your ancestors. Did you hear that? Do you still remember how many people risked their lives to fight the enemy outside Earth 13 years ago? Who used their tragic blood to fight for a chance to negotiate for Earth? Do you know how many corpses and loyal souls of China's ancestors are buried in the vast starry sky? Do you know how many unyielding roars of our ancestors are echoing in the sky? If the young are strong, China will be strong. What is strong? First of all, its character and temperament. I, Mo Wenshan, don't want to teach a bunch of ungrateful and selfish people who only know how to kneel and lick the enemy's boots. In the face of his first outburst, the huge classroom suddenly fell into silence. Many of the children looked sorrowful and ashamed. Only the young man called Yi Chi clenched his fists and stared at the projector uneasily. He bit his lips and said, Uncle, you must win. For yourself, for China. At the same time, above Nine Dragons Bay, over 100 powerhouses from the 8 great immortal sects stood quietly in the air and stared at Nine Dragons Bay below coldly. They did not say a word, and only the overwhelming killing intent and coldness swept everything. Heaven and earth fell silent, deathly still. Everyone froze. Even Su Yuhan, Yi Hai, and the rest who were next to Yi Chen could not help but feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Their faces turned pale. Even Su Yuwei was no exception. On the other hand, everyone who knew Yi Chen was filled with despair. They no longer had any hope. Yi Chen's expression remained the same as he stared at the void calmly. 7 figures walked out slowly from there. Among these 7 figures, there were men and women, monks and Taoists, and they were dressed differently. However, the invisible pressure they emitted was like a vast ocean. Even the 93 figures behind them were overshadowed by it. The 7 of them stepped forward, and the one leading them was a young man dressed in a blood-red robe. The young man's face was devilishly handsome, and the image of a blood-red river above his head made him look like an indomitable young demon god. Mad Southern Yi. The young man looked down at Yi Chen in a condescending manner and revealed a smile like a cat playing with a mouse. Let me introduce myself. My name is God's Son of Blood Sunday. I'm from Ethereal Planet. The ethereal patriarch that you killed a few days ago is my clan elder. Chapter 1422. As his voice fell, the world immediately shook. The divine Son of Blood Sun. He came from Ethereal Planet. Countless people were shocked to the point that their scalps went numb. What was a divine sun? It was an existence that swept across those of the same level and was said to have the highest chance of shaking the heavenly star chart and illuminating the heavens. You're from Ethereal Planet? Yi Chen glanced at the divine Son of Blood Sun coldly. His eyes flashed unnoticeably when he sensed his mastery stage God transformation stage cultivation base. An existence with a mastery stage God transformation stage cultivation base would be the top existence on Earth. However, on Ethereal Planet, he was only a divine son. From this, it could be seen how much Earth had declined. Why? Are you afraid? As soon as Yi Chen said that, an old man in a wide-sleeved Taoist robe walked out from the 7 of them. The old man did not hide his mastery stage God transformation stage aura at all. He looked at Yi Chen as if he was mocking him. Mad Southern Yi, didn't you say that you wanted to kill all of us and destroy our orthodoxy? What else do you have to say now? Ah! Another old man in a black robe with a monstrous murderous aura stood out and said, Mad Southern Yi, you never dreamed that the 8 immortal sects would send 100 God transformation stage cultivators to deal with you, right? Yi Chen's expression remained the same. At the same time, A man with 3 heads and 6 arms sneered. "We've investigated your past and know that you've never been defeated. How can we complain about you, the former number 1 on Earth? Why are you talking so much nonsense with him?" The divine son of blood sun's pressure was unparalleled as he looked down at Yi Chen. "Mad Southern Yi, you only have 2 choices now. Either kneel down and submit to the 8 immortal sects and swear to be our lackeys, or die." As his voice fell, a series of loud noises that shook the surroundings immediately reverberated in the surroundings. Submit or die. In the mysterious valley less than 1,000 kilometers away from Lin City, there was a terrifying power contained within. Qin Shaotian glared angrily at Taoist Beiyan. "The 8 outer realms immortal sects treat Hua Nation as if it doesn't exist. Are we not going to act?" Taoist Dark North's face twitched violently several times. Then, he slowly turned around, closed his eyes and said, "Use the Godslayer cannons. At the same time, open the Insu passage at all costs and gather all the hidden soul formation powerhouses in China to prepare for the Second War. China has been lying low for 12 years. This time, we'll play with them and let these foreign enemies know that China is not to be bullied." Hearing these words, Qin Xiaotian's body trembled. Then, he said with a trembling voice, "All right, if I die this time, please sweep my sister's grave every year during the Qingming festival. Submit or die." In an instant, it was like over 100 bolts of lightning rumbled in unison, and it shook countless people to the point they bled from all 7 apertures while their eardrums exploded, and they revealed extremely astounded expressions. The power of 100 soul formation divine lords is too terrifying. At that moment, everyone's expression changed, and they gasped. "It's over, it's over." The heavenly master of Dragon Tiger Mountain and the other elders of China were in despair. However, at that moment, Yi Chen, who had been silent all this while, lifted his eyes slowly. He glanced at all the soul formation almighties calmly. In the end, his gaze landed on the blood sun divine sun. Suddenly, he shook his head and said in disappointment, "I thought there would be many of you, but now it seems that there are still too few of you. They're not enough for me to kill." As soon as he finished speaking, the world suddenly fell into dead silence. "Too few? Not enough to kill?" Everyone widened their eyes and stared at him blankly. They could not believe their ears, thinking that they had heard wrongly. "Crazy, Mr. Yi has really gone crazy." Countless people shook their heads. "Impudent! Shameless boasting! How dare you be so arrogant when you're about to die?" In the blink of an eye, over 100 soul formation almighties from the foreign immortal sects were enraged. Terrifying killing intent and coldness tore through the void. What an arrogant earthling! A late-stage soul formation almighty old woman who was standing on a black lotus platform laughed out of extreme anger. "You just think that you're going to die for sure and want to show off before you die. Do you think it's that easy for you to die?" Another late-stage soul formation almighty locked onto Yi Chen with killing intent. "Don't worry, we won't kill you. We'll only extract your soul and refine it. We'll make you watch your wife, parents, and everyone related to you die tragically in front of you. Attack!" The blood sun divine sun's voice was like thunder. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, over 100 terrifying soul formation almighty auras erupted. The invisible killing intent caused heaven and earth to tremble. Over 100 late-stage soul formation almighty attacked at the same time. From now on, the legend of Earth officially ends. A mere native dares to look down on us. You're just an ant among the top 100 stars in the world. Over 100 soul formation almighties arrived at 9 Dragons Bay together. They sealed the space and charged at Yi Chen. At that moment, everyone could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. Yi Chen looked at the hundreds of soul formation almighty powerhouses arriving at 9 Dragons Bay expressionlessly. He suddenly grinned. "I'll send all of you to hell now." With that, he suddenly took off a pendant from his chest and tossed it into the air. Rumble! In an instant, the world turned pale, and the wind and clouds changed. The entire Nine Dragons Bay suddenly turned into an Azura purgatory. Countless terrifying essence energy surged out, as if every inch of space was collapsing. The invisible killing intent almost materialized and destroyed everything. Plop! This sudden scene instantly caused many people to fall heavily to the ground due to being caught off guard, and they felt numerous invisible and terrifying attacks assaulting them. What happened? Some people were terrified. They felt as if they had fallen into hell. Every muscle was twitching and every bone was being torn. The Blood Sun Divine Sun seemed to have thought of something, and his expression suddenly changed. Oh no, it's a killing formation. This is a peerless killing formation. As soon as he said that, over 100 people inhaled sharply at the same time. They looked at Yi Chen in shock again. Yi Chen had set up a peerless killing formation and was waiting for them. Mad Southern Yi, do you think you'll be safe with the peerless killing formation? The Blood Sun Divine Sun scoffed coldly and looked at Yi Chen sinisterly. This formation consumes a lot of energy. As long as we work together, we'll only need the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to break it. You'll still die. Grandsons, of course, that's not all that I've prepared for you. The Patriarch of Hell suddenly laughed loudly and waved his hand at the air. I'll show you a treasure now. Boom! Boom! In that instant, dozens of figures with powerful auras appeared out of thin air. Every one of them was at the soul formation stage. They were Temple Master Bei Yun and the rest that Yi Chen had brought from Dark Purple World. At that moment, the Blood Sun Divine Sun's expression finally changed. At that moment, everyone's eyes froze.